Oak Grove School District on February 12th, 2026 at 5 p.m. May I have a motion and a second to approve the agenda?
Motion to approve?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None. The agenda has been approved as submitted. The board at this time will recess to closed session to discuss 2.1, confer with labor negotiator pursuant to Government Code Section 54957.6, 2.2, consideration of public employee discipline, release, dismissal, Government Code Section 54957, 2.3, consideration of pupil services matter pursuant to Education Code 35146 and 48918. Individuals wishing to address the board regarding a closed session item are asked to reference the specific agenda item in their public comment. You will have 3 minutes to speak. Have any public comment cards been submitted from individuals wishing to speak on this closed session item?
No cards have been submitted. Thank you.
We will now recess to closed session, and we will return approximately at 6 p.m.
We're fine with the 3 minutes.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the regular board meeting of February 12th, 2026. There are many opportunities for the public to address the board, public comment, or during a specific agenda item. If you wish to speak to the board, please complete the request to speak card at the front and provide it to the recording secretary. When it is your turn to speak, you will have 3 minutes to speak. The Brown Act governs meetings of governmental bodies in California. Your comments to the board must be specific to the agenda item that you are addressing. If there is no specific item, you are welcome to present comments during public comment. Please note that you are attending a public meeting of the Board of Trustees during the public's business. This is not a public forum for public debate. 3.2 Land Acknowledgement. Trustee Martinez, please read the land acknowledgement.
We acknowledge that Oak Grove School District and our schools occupy the unceded territory of the Miwokmee Ohlone Nation, the sovereign nation and original people of the skies, land, and waters where we work and learn. The Miwokmee Ohlone people are the stewards of these lands and of the teaching and learning that comes from and responds to the needs of the land and people who share it. May our daily lives and work, research, teaching, and community engagement support the evolving vision of the Miwokmee Ohlone for their community and these lands.
Thank you. Now to the Pledge of Allegiance. I would like to now invite our student leader from Edenvale Elementary School to the front of the dais to introduce herself and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Hi, my name is Emma Garibay, and I'm a student at Edenvale Elementary School. I'm honored to be here today to lead everyone in the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand. Ready? Salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated. Thank you.
The board can join us.
Nice job. Go over here, take a picture. Thank you, Emma. Nice job. Is your parents here or who's here? Oh, congratulations. Well, awesome student on my superintendent's advisory council. A lot of great ideas. Yeah, so great job.
Now we move to item 3.4, Superintendent's Report. Superintendent Chidas, please provide your report.
Hey, thank you, President Aber. Happy Friday Junior before February break. It is great. I know today we were out at Baldwin. A lot of happy students, happy teachers, excited for the Valentine's weekend and for next week for our February break. This month of February marks the 100th anniversary of the first formal observance of Black History Month in our nation. It's also a time to celebrate the achievements and contributions of African Americans in our district, community, state, and in our nation. While we honor these stories this month, we remain committed to celebrating diversity, equity throughout the entire year, not just in 1 month, but throughout the entire year. This evening, President Aber will present a resolution recognizing Black History Month. And I'm also proud to share that on Saturday, March 14th at 11:30 a.m., we will host our 22nd annual Dreamkeeper Student Awards, celebrating the accomplishments of our African American students through Allied. This Tuesday, February 17th, marks the start of the 2026 Lunar New Year, which is the year of the fire horse, symbolizing ambition, moving forward, speed, independence, and dynamic change. So we are happy to celebrate tomorrow. A few of our schools will be having celebrations to kick off the Lunar New Year. I want to thank President Aber, Vice President Yu, and Trustee Salazar Torres for joining the Oak Grove Management Association, OGMA, and our executive team last week in recognizing students at the annual Every Student Succeeding Awards. We are proud of our students for their resilience and determination in overcoming challenges. On February 5th and 12th, our executive team visited Anderson and Ledesma elementary schools. Thank you to Trustee Salazar Torres for joining us at Anderson and Vice President Yu for joining us at Ledesma. I want to thank our teachers, our principals, our staff for the warm welcome. And it's a great tradition to just go out together and have a conversation with all of our teachers and staff. So thank you to Principal Humphrey Butler from Anderson and Principal Sorich from Ledesma for your instructional leadership. This weekend was pretty cool. There's nothing like excitement like the Super Bowl, right? And this year, I don't know if you noticed, one of the honorary captains doing the coin toss was our very own Yesenia Fonseca, who was at Christopher for 9 years, from kindergarten to 8th grade. She's now a senior at Andrew Hill High School. And I hear she's a pretty awesome high school flag football player, and was selected by the Boys and Girls Club. And so it's really cool to represent our community, our Oak Grove community, at that national stage. This morning, we were at Baldwin visiting our students for their Design Challenge Showcase. A couple of weeks ago, I was invited, this is the third year that I have been invited to speak to our 6th grade students at Baldwin, to Ms. Sampson and Ms. Gatch students, about their prosthetic leg designs. And the reason they invite me is my son has a prosthetic leg, my oldest son. I have 3 boys, and the oldest one, who's actually did really well athletic, mostly in wrestling. But they asked me, from my personal experience as a father of a son who has a prosthetic leg, on the designs that I've seen. So this morning, we saw those prosthetic legs, and it was exciting, very innovative designs, a lot of duct tape, cardboard, some PVC pipes. But I want to thank Principal Looper for her leadership at Baldwin, and to our teachers, Ms. Sampson and Gatch, and to the students. And it was nice to see parents there as well. And finally, I want to wish our students, our families, our Board of Trustees, all of our employees, classified, certificated, our administrators, our executive team, and the hundreds of substitutes that we have, a very happy Valentine's Day weekend and a restful February break. That concludes my comments for tonight, President Aber.
Thank you. We'll move to 3.5, the closed session report. The board met in closed session to discuss 2.1, and no action was taken. 2.2, no action was taken, and 2.3, no action was taken. We'll now move to 4.1, which I'll be presenting tonight. Tonight, I'm really proud to bring forward the resolution 1541-02-26, recognizing this month as February as Black History Month. Black History Month is an annual opportunity to honor the achievements, the leadership, and contributions of African Americans, and to recognize their central role in the story of the United States. The origins of Black History Month go back more than a century. What began as a formal observance in 1926 has grown into a national commitment in remembering history more honestly, more completely, and with greater respect. The 2026 national theme is a century of Black history commemorations, making it 100 years since the first official observance. This theme matters because it reminds us that Black history has too often been excluded, minimized, or treated as an option. In reality, Black history is American history. By adopting this resolution, Oak Grove School District affirms that February is designated as Black History Month and encourages all schools to recognize the contributions of African Americans through cultural, curriculum, learning activities, and community engagement. May I have a motion and a second?
I'll go ahead and motion that the Board of Trustees adopt Resolution 1541-02/26, recognizing the month of February as Black History Month as presented.
Have we any public comment cards that have been submitted on this item?
No cards, President Aber.
Any board discussion? With no board discussion, may I have a roll call vote, please?
Member Yolakar. Member Martinez.
Aye.
Member Torres.
Aye.
Vice President Yu.
Aye.
President Hebert.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. We'll now move to public hearing 5.1. I will now open the public hearing on the negotiated settlement between the Oak Grove School District and the Oak Grove Educators Association. Have any public comment cards been submitted from individuals wishing to speak on this item?
Yes, President Aber, we have 3 cards submitted.
Okay. First, we will have Luis Velasquez.
Good evening, Board of Trustees, Dr. Chaitis. First, I want to thank for whomever is responsible for the hearts. I like to quote Bad Bunny in the Super Bowl, the only thing stronger than hate is love. So thank you. It's an honor to be here tonight in this public hearing. This is the result of a lot of hours of hard work, conversations, organizing. 98% in favor of this agreement is overwhelming. It's a clear signal that OGEA believes that it's a fair step to providing the stability our students and staff deserve. By voting yes, it's not just a ratification, it means honoring the dedication of our educators. We look forward to moving forward together to focus on what matters the most, our students. Thanks for your support and for voting to ratify this agreement tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. We have Jorge Prado and then Bob Parolo.
Good evening, Madam President, board members, executive team. Once a teacher, always a teacher, regardless that people may read or not my curriculum vitae, resume, you call it. I've been a teacher in 2 countries, from TK all the way to the university. So I'm so happy that finally OGA gets tonight, I hope, the confirmation of the contract agreement of the collectivity. So happy that last meeting, our brothers and sisters of ASME get approved. And we were long ago CSEA when we were approved. Now, saying that, I also hope that being our brothers and sisters in this increase necessarily, but not enough, because life, you might know it is quite expensive in this place, get maybe the same treatment. So first of all, congratulations to you guys. That means a lot to all of us. Thank you. Means a lot for the children that you work with every single day. And I know how the classroom is in there. Well deserved. Congratulations. I hope you approve this. And yes, once a teacher, always a teacher. So I hope we all take these moments as a teachable moment. Thanks so much.
Good evening, Board of Trustees. I just want to say I am happy that we are at the end of a very long process. I look forward to turning the page and to trying to figure out a way to continue to work together on future negotiations and other matters as well. I believe there's a lot of good things in this contract that will help with the recruitment and retention of teachers and educators in Oak Grove School District, and a lot of things that will benefit our students outside of that as well. So I urge you to approve this, and that's all. Thank you.
I will now close the hearing and move to 6.1, public comment. This is the opportunity for individuals to address the board on any school-related issue that is not part of the evening's agenda. Pursuant to Board Bylaw 9323, members of the public shall not approach the dais at any time during a public meeting unless invited to do so by the board or district staff. If a member of the public wishes to provide written or visual information to the board during the meeting, they shall provide the information to the executive team member who will distribute the information to the board if appropriate. Have any public cards been submitted for individuals who wish to speak?
Yes, President Aber, we have 5 cards.
Okay. I'll first have Sophie Freestone, followed by Jessica Ballett.
Hi, my name is Sophie Freestone, and I am the mom of 3 Parkview students and the PSEA secretary at Parkview. For all of the 5 years that my eldest son has been at Parkview, he has been in classes with 2 students who have perpetually been allowed to disrupt lessons and bully my son, other students, teachers, and staff. This year, in Mr. Del Real's class, my son has not had a single day in which one of these students decided that his personal opinion was more important than the lesson being taught and than the safety of the students in his class. My son has specifically been bullied by these students where they called him names, eroded his self-esteem, and made it hard for him to join in group activities. As a constant presence on campus as a volunteer, these 2 students have told me that I have no authority to tell them to go back to class or stop disruptive or dangerous behavior. I have prevented them from stealing items from our different fundraising events, such as the book fair or our winter holiday shop, and then had to deal with their repeated attempts to enter those spaces when they have been explicitly told they could not return. At least one of these students believes that recording teachers and having his phone out during the day is a right that he should not be disciplined for. One of the teachers has confided in me that she did not feel supported or safe with having this student in her classroom, and I have had other parents tell me that they do not feel safe with these 2 students and the adult members of their family. At least one of the parents have said that their families have been threatened by the family that they will be beaten up if they talk in any negative way about their students. I have seen this family and these students receive 0 consequences for their actions and watched our administration defer to their complaints over the complaints of others. They are receiving special treatment out of fear of their potential retaliation. I would like the district to step in to have these students face consequences for their actions so they will not continue this behavior endlessly. Appropriate consequences from my perspective include detention, suspension, exclusion from school events, and even expulsion. They should not be allowed to continue to disrupt learning and bully others.
Jessica Ballett?
Yes, sorry, I'm ill prepared. To the members of the Board of Education, I'm writing to formally express my grave concerns regarding a persistent and escalating pattern of harassment and disruptive behavior by a specific family within our school community. For several years, the conduct of the adult members of this household has created a hostile environment for teachers, staff, students, and parents. Despite the chronic nature of these issues, a lack of meaningful interventions has resulted in inconsistent policy enforcement and a compromised sense of safety on campus. As both a witness to and a direct target of this behavior, I personally experienced the following: verbal abuse of staff, family members frequently yell at and intimidate teachers and administrators by bypass school policies or demand preferential treatment. Targeting of parents. I've been personally targeted, including being filmed without consent and confronted aggressively at school grounds. Intimidating tactics. The behavior appears calculated to silence a community through fear and public confrontation. This pattern of behavior has extended to the students within this family. In my capacity as a school volunteer, I witnessed an incident where the son attempted to coerce another student into theft, and the lack of These students are frequently observed wandering halls during instruction time. There is a growing perception that they are granted privileges and exemption from the rules that are not afforded to the rest of the student body. And it's the failure of the district protocol. It is deeply disheartening that despite repeated reports to school and district officials, no effective corrective action have been taken. This institutional inaction has emboldened the family and left the community feeling unprotected. A school must be safe, structured environment. Currently, the environment is being undermined by the unchecked conduct of a single household. We respectfully urge the board to conduct a thorough review of all documented incidents reporting involving this family, implement immediate corrective measures to ensure the safety of students and staff, and enforce the school's code of conduct strictly, including the consideration of a formal no trespass order to prevent further harassment of parents and personnel.
Thank you. I have Katina Robinson and then Jorge Prado.
Dear members of the school board, I am writing as a concerned parent regarding an ongoing disruption caused by a student and their family. I have personally witnessed their torment of both families and teachers. In one instance, a teacher had a concussion. A teacher who had a concussion politely asked the parent to stop bouncing the ball because she was bouncing the ball too hard and her head was hurting. And the parent continued to bounce it even harder. My own daughter's friend had been physically assaulted recently, and the student consistently used their phone. The student even found me on social media and was on my live stream, and I had to block him during school hours. I've seen the student speak disrespectfully to the principal, their teacher, and even towards me. The family has threatened to check me, but me being me, I made it clear that I won't be intimidated. But other parents are deeply afraid. I've had to walk parents from their car to pick up their students because they was afraid of the parents because of negative comments and threats. I reported these issues to the teacher, the principal, and I've even talked to Genevieve from the board committee, who mentioned that they try to give the family the benefit of the doubt. But also, they mentioned that they try to give the family the benefit of the doubt. But I feel like the benefit of the doubt has been given too many times to this family. I urge the board to take immediate action, whether through definite intervention or the student's removal, because too many families no longer feel safe in that school, and their students don't either. Thank you.
Jorge Prado and then Bob Perello.
Sorry, I'll just say the packet we gave you included letters from other individuals at our school that did not feel safe coming and speaking up for themselves today and wanted to only give it in written context.
Alas, me again. I didn't know that 4.1 was also a moment to address, so I have two topics in this one. One of them is exactly what the board just approved on the Black History Month. Dignified and proud, intelligent and hardworking, may this black race so full of sap and generous vitality grow, prosper, and rise ceaselessly, progressing from advance to progress. To help it in this ascent, there will be never too many workers or too much devotion. Therefore, it is with reverence that I bring to my humble and respectful offering. Others will do better than me one day, but no one will be more eager for its restoration and glory. Joseph Antenor Firmin, Haitian, barrister, philosopher, pioneer anthropologist, journalist, and politician. Maybe you know his book, I hope so. If not, it should be mandatory to read. The Equality of Human Race. That is a rebuttal of French writer Arthur de Gauvain, Essay to the Inequalities of Human Race, about the supremacy and superiority of Aryan race. I hope everybody can read that book. It's quite important if we really are going to celebrate Black History Month, that it was not just in this country. In my country, they arrived years, centuries before. The other topic that I need to talk in this brief space, that's why I make it in the public comment. Later on, we're going to hear Mr. Evans about budgeting, and then we're going to hear about where to do cuts, etc. Still, for the last 3 months, we don't know that first projection, second projection on cutting positions in this district that have deep impact into the students and into the families. Still, I have not heard not single of the so-called directors, the so-called coordinators, or the executive team taking a tiny little bit of their paychecks. Me, if it was just myself, I will be not living in poverty. I will be living as a homeless with the salary I make. Cutting these kind of positions is not about me. I always will find another job. No problem at all. I'm smart enough. But the services we provide, all those positions in that piece of paper are crucial, vital to the education of the children in Oak Grove School District and in this country. Teachers are a living proof of it. We and them are one team. We need to be together. If you kill these positions, then I don't know how Oak Grove School District pretends to keep functioning. Thank you.
Good evening, Mort again. So tonight, I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about budget cuts because I know that's on everybody's mind. It's going to come up later as well. But basically, I want to urge the board to make sure that next month, when you had asked for people to come back with alternatives to the cuts that were presented, which I applaud that move, I think that was the right move, but I would urge the board to come in with your own alternatives, because otherwise you will get one narrative, and that's will be presented as the way to do it. And I would urge you to study the issue, look at all the details, gather information, and come in with your own set of proposals. Doesn't mean that you can't be flexible when you're making the decision. It doesn't mean you can't have a healthy debate up there. I would hope that you would. But I don't want to see the board be presented with one set of proposals and not know what an alternative is again. So I would urge you to have your own set of proposals, ones that protect the vital jobs, protect the counselors, protect the community liaisons, protect our school secretaries, protect our teachers on special assignment, protect our ed techs, right? Protects our arts, right? And your own set of proposals that are far away from those positions, which support students and support teachers. If you have your own set of proposals, then there's a lot more on the table that can be discussed, debated, and the best decision can be made. And if that sounds like I'm giving you a homework assignment, well, you'll have to pardon me because this is what I do for a living. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Seeing no more cards, we will end the public comment. Under 6.2, do we have any reports for bargaining unit representatives?
It's me again. Okay, I have a lot of, separated points that I want to bring up. Number one, I'd like to thank Associate Superintendent Bowles and Assistant Superintendent Anna for helping us with the Educator Effectiveness Fund. We were able to use these funds for 12 OGA members to attend the Good Teaching Conference. This was in Burlingame 2 weeks ago. They had the opportunity to focus on teaching, learning practices, workshops, opportunities to network and share ideas with colleagues. So thank you so much. I also want to thank the trustees that have attended CTA trainings and also social activities. I want to formally thank you for your commitment to professional growth and community engagement. Thank you for taking the time to listen and to learn alongside us. I also want to take a moment to express OGEA's appreciation to President Herbert for joining our Educator and Community Solidarity Action Against ICE last week. Your presence spoke volumes. It sent a powerful message to our students and families that their safety and well-being is a priority for the entire district. Thank you for standing with us. I also have a comment regarding item 9.2. This is the Budget Advisory Committee. Well, number one, I want to thank Mark for putting this together, for giving us time to talk to other members of the community, parents, CACA members, and AFSCME. Thank you for doing that. I do have a recommendation. We need more parents in these meetings. Last night, there were only 3 parents, and not in my table, but in a different table, there were assumptions that the recommendations that were in the motion from December were already written on stone, that they were already part of the decision of cutting those positions. So we need to invite more families to these meetings because there is a lot at stake, okay? Also, as Bob mentioned, I want to echo, our budget accountability project, we call it the BAP, the BAP. We've been looking at the budget and financial information, and while we recognize the need for fiscal stability, a plan that balances the budget on the backs of our most vulnerable students and overworked educators is not stabilization. It is a pullback from our mission. Before we look at eliminating classroom supports, we must see a clear plan for reducing administrative overhead and outside consulting fees. The cuts must stay as far away from the classroom door as possible. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. I will now move to the consent agenda. Superintendent Chidas, please present the consent agenda.
At this time, it is recommended that the Board of Trustees approve the consent agenda as submitted.
Thank you. May I have a motion and a second? Okay. Okay. I move that the board approve the consent agenda as presented, excluding 7.8. Do I have a second? Do I need a roll call vote?
Member Martinez,
Aye.
Member Torres,
Aye.
Vice President Yu,
Aye.
President Hebert.
Aye.
Motion carries.
With that, we have approved the consent agenda. Now let's move to item 7.8. Do I have a motion and a second? We have to make the motion in a second, and then we'll move to board discussion.
I second.
Board discussion?
I'd like to start out with, I want to begin to acknowledge the time and effort that's gone into these negotiations. 5 months of bargaining with 3 units is significant, and I respect the work that's been done with our district staff, our labor partners, and our community members who participated in the process. That said, I need to explain why I can't support the approval of this contract tonight. From the outset, the board was consistent and transparent about our financial capacity. We've stated clearly that our district cannot support a 6% increase. We've opened our books, participated in our arbitration, and those financial realities were independently reviewed and confirmed. At the same time, Santa Clara County Office of Education required the district to demonstrate the ability to balance our budget over the next 3 years. That requirement led to difficult conversations with unions, parents, and community members about possible reductions. Much of these feedbacks we received from the focus on cutting non-teacher positions, positions that are essential to student services, campus operations, and classroom support. Later, at a district meeting, union leadership who had earlier proposed cuts to non-teaching positions publicly aligned themselves against those and same reductions when the proposal was brought forward. While that public stance may be politically effective, it does not change the financial constraints facing the district or the difficult decisions before this board. Those constraints are not theoretical, they're structural and long-term. Our district, like many across California, are facing declining enrollment driven by lower birth rates. Fewer students means less revenue, and as fixed costs remain, at the same time, our local revenues growth is constrained by state law. Prop 13 limits property tax growth and only allows reassessment when home changes ownership or new construction occurs. In our community, home sales are not occurring at the pace or scale seen in neighborhoods like Los Gatos, Saratoga, and Campbell. That means we do not see the same reassessment values, revenue growth, or even as costs continue to rise. As we consider this tentative agreement, it is important to fully acknowledge its scope. The agreement, it not only includes a salary increase, it includes ongoing financial commitments that extend well beyond a single year. Employee representatives by OGEA would receive a 5.5% salary increase for 25-26, retroactive to July 1st, 2025, followed by an additional 4.5% increase for the 2026-27 school year. The total salary will increase by 10%. In addition, the agreement significantly increases the district's ongoing health and welfare obligations, include higher fixed district contributions, and future guarantees tied to healthcare cost increases. These are not one-time expenditures, they're long-term obligations that compound over time. We have a parity clause, and as such, parents and the public need to understand that all prior negotiated contracts will be opened again to approve, and we must work with the bargaining teams to close the gap and align with OGEA. I also want to speak briefly from personal experience. I understand the cost of living pressures in this area. For the past months, I was unemployed. During that time, my family made real sacrifices, from selling belongings, skipping outgoings, and making difficult choices just to put food on the table and pay our medical bills. My children attend public schools, and I see firsthand how declining resources affect student opportunities and education experiences. This is personal for me, and it is why these decisions and why these decisions matter so deeply. When I began serving this role, I said clearly that we need to get serious about spending. Fiscal responsibility is not about cutting for the sake of cutting. It is about making smart investments. Without strong programs for kids, how do we attract families back from private school, charter schools, or online options? Enrollment growth is not just about educational growth, it is about revenue strategy. Making this district more attractive to families is one of the few sustainable ways that we can strengthen our financial future. This is not a statement against our employees and our teachers. I fully recognize their commitments day and night to support our student population. It is not a rejection of collective bargaining, and it is certainly not a failure to recognize the dedication and hard work of our staff. This is about the responsibility of a board to plan honestly, spend responsibility, and make decisions with long-term consequences in mind. For that reason, I will not be supporting this contract as it's presented.
Any additional board comments?
I do want to acknowledge the concerns that Trustee Joglekar is bringing up in regards to the budget. I fully recognize that this decision does increase fiscal pressure. You know, that's real, and as a board, we do have to own that. However, I do also think that it's important that we also consider the cost of what would happen if we did not invest in our educators. If surrounding districts offer higher compensation, then we as a district become a training ground for other systems. Hiring talented teachers, developing them, and then losing them to better paying districts. Hard to fill positions like SPED and our dual immersion programs then become even more difficult to staff. Recruitment becomes more challenging, turnover increases, And ultimately, our instructional continuity suffers as well. I believe that the cost of that instability would actually create deeper long-term consequences for our students and also our financial health. So I do believe that as a board, we absolutely have the responsibility to balance the budget, but we also need to ensure that our district remains viable and competitive. And retaining strong educators and staff is central to that responsibility. So again, yes, we absolutely must continue to pursue structural fiscal solutions and disciplined spending, but ultimately I do think that protecting the quality and the stability of our instructional program is a long-term investment. Because of those reasons, I am prepared to support and approve the agreement.
I also am conflicted in regards to the budget with the deficit and again with cuts coming, and we know that they're going to come. These are viable positions that we've spoken about. These are community liaisons. These are our secretaries. These are special ed positions that are very important. And yet, I also do believe that our teachers need to be compensated and they need to receive what is deemed at this point, and I will be definitely approving this.
I want to start by thanking our district team and our Oak Grove educators. The work and leadership that you've put into these negotiations over these months has been apparent. This was a lengthy process, and I appreciate your time, your professionalism, and your commitment to staying at the table. I also want to acknowledge that this agreement was properly brought forward through our disclosure process, including tonight's public hearing. I will be voting yes tonight because I believe in investing in our educators is essential to student success and to maintaining stability in our schools. At the same time, I want to be very transparent with our community. This agreement does not eliminate any fiscal challenges that we are facing. We are still going to have to make difficult budget decisions, including reductions and ongoing cost controls to maintain long-term solvency. So my vote tonight also comes with a commitment to do the hard work that follows. That means continuing to identify reductions that keeps cuts as far away from the classrooms as possible, and also aggressively pursuing additional funding opportunities. That includes maximizing state and federal dollars, improving our ADA and our enrollment strategies, strengthening grants, reviewing contracts and outside services, expanding partnerships, and facility use opportunities when appropriate. Our community deserves an honesty and a plan. Tonight is one step. The next step is doing the work to close the gap responsibly. I'm voting yes today on item 7.8. I believe that's the end of board discussion. May we have a roll call vote, please?
Member Yolakar? No. Member Martinez?
Yes.
Member Torres?
Yes.
Vice President Yu?
Aye.
President Hebert?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Second. We now move to 8.1, 2026, the CSBA Delegate Assembly ballot. We have multiple candidates here available for us to support. I hope everyone has read their biographies. There was also a mistake in this initial ballot where Carol Prosunka was left off, and so her information in her biography was added to this. While we have a great number of candidates that have been presented for us, I'm trying to get to the main page. This one's a long one, so I can see them all at once. 1 second. I wanted to, let's see, where is this at? Okay. I wanted to make a motion that we put forward Derek Grosty, Isabel Jubes Flamerich, Jessica Spicer, and Carol Prezunka as our representatives to the delegation in Region 20. May I have a motion and a second?
I'll go ahead and motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any board discussion?
I was looking at Jody. Her background is completed her Master's of Governance classes. She had Unified Parents Coalition. She was also SCC SBA president. And her priorities and challenges were declining enrollment, financial and legislative support, and support for socio-emotional recovery programs. And I did have Derek, Isabel, and Carol. I would like to recommend Jody in lieu of, I'm not sure who the other person that you
Is that a friendly amendment?
I'm sorry?
A friendly amendment to my
A friendly
motion?
amendment, yeah.
Okay.
And it's a recommendation, so
Yeah, so I had
we
had
picked
Carol.
4. I didn't know how we were going to do it, because
Sure.
I would suggest possibly picking each one and then possibly voting on that person and seeing, or, because we can only pick 4 out of the 6, and maybe
Yeah.
our 4 may not be the same 4 that you're recommending, so
Uh-huh.
that's depending on how you want to do it.
Sure, so usually it's taken all up in one motion, but we can, I believe, take individual candidates up in separate motions, if we so choose to, or you can do a friendly amendment, and I would have to agree with that, or we would vote on my initial motion, and if it failed, we can have a substitute motion with your slate. I am actually going to stick with my motion, and I'd like to have a vote, and then if that fails, we can move to the substitute motion.
Can you repeat the 4 again?
Sure, so I had recommended Derek Grasty from Mountain Pleasant, Isabel Flamerich from Sunnyvale, Jessica Spicer from Santa Clara County Office of Education, and Carol Prezunka from Cambrian School District. And I made these choices just because I actually represent our school district with CSBI. I've got to work with many of these board members. I read through their biographies. I also believe in having opportunities for people to come in and out of the service and not have the same people over and over again in the same position. And so that's why I recommended the folks that I did.
Sorry, Trustee Salazar-Torres, can you state the ones that you recommended?
Derek, William Derek Grasty from Mount Pleasant, Isabel Jubis Fiumric from Sunnyvale, and then Jody Santa Clara, Muirhead, and Carol Prezunka, the write-in candidate.
So her switch would just be taking Jessica and putting in Jody. The other reason is we don't have a representative from the County Office of Education currently, and so I thought Jessica would be a good, out of these candidates, would be a good opportunity because they deal specifically with kids who are in the incarcerated system and are dealing with harder to reach issues, low income, foster care kids, homeless kids.
And then I chose Jody because, again, that she had done a city measure that passed. And so she's, definitely somebody that has written things that have passed, and she's done her homework. I felt the Unified Parent Coalition was a big one, and obviously the Masters of Governance class. was something that was important that she had been, and I'm sure there was a handful of other things. Those are the top, I tried to get the top 4 things from each person that I felt that would be their background plus their priorities. And so those are some of the reasons. And again, her priorities were declining enrollment, financial and legislative support, and support for social-emotional recovery programs.
Any further board discussion before we move forward with my initial motion?
Add that I'll support what Ed is as is. Happy to see William Derrick in there and Jessica Spicer.
Okay.
Member Yolakar?
On my initial motion. Okay.
I'm sorry. Okay. Member Martinez?
Aye.
Member Torres?
No.
Vice President Yu?
Aye.
President Hebert?
Aye.
Motion carries.
We now move to the adoption of the revised board policies per state legislation, amendment to Education Code 234.7. Assistant Superintendent Enna.
Thank you, President Hebert. The recommended revision of board policies are brought about because of major changes to Ed Code 234.7. The revised policy language falls into 3 categories: information and documents, access to students and sites, and informing the public. The policies were revised based on samples that CSBA provided in January 2026 to reflect the changes in the law. So the first one is Board Policy 1445, which is actually a new board policy, and it is a revision of Board Policy 4145.13, Response to Immigration. It includes all of the language in 4145.13, but adds employee rights in addition to student and family rights. And because it includes employee rights, it would be moved to the 1000 series. And as such, Board Policy 5145.13 is no longer needed because it is the same board policy with the added language. So those 2 revisions. Then Board Policy 0450 are comprehensive safety plans. That board policy language was updated to include violence prevention and high expectations for students and staff, and also reflects training that is required for comprehensive school safety plans regularly and as necessary. Finally, updates to Board Policy 5125, student records. It includes guidance on the retention, disclosure, and security of student records. The board policies that are being recommended for revision, it's recommended that the trustee approve the first reading and, in accordance with Board Bylaw 9311, waive the second reading and approve the adoption of Board Policy 1445, Response to Immigration Enforcement, to replace Board Policy 5145.13, as well as approve updates to Board Policy 0450, Comprehensive Safety Plan, and Board Policy 5125, Student Records.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any board discussion? May I have a motion and a second?
I motion that the Board of Trustees approve the first reading and, in accordance with Board Bylaw 9311, waive the second reading and approve the adoption of Board Policy 1445, Response to Immigration Enforcement, to replace Board Policy 5145.13, as well as approve updates to Board Policy 0450, Comprehensive Safety Plan, and Board Policy 5125, Student Records.
Second.
I wanted to actually outline some of the highlights in the updated immigration policy, just so that we can let our community know what we're doing and what the state has asked us to do, so that our students and our families understand how we can support them. Under this update, the staff cannot solicit or collect documents about a family's citizenship or immigration status. Staff cannot demand immigration-related documents in a way that excludes other allowable documents. We cannot disclose any education records, no personal information, unless there is written consent from the parent or guardian. We cannot, personnel records or confidential employee information, we cannot give those over to immigration enforcement. And there is no permission to enter school buses or district transportation, non-public areas of district property, non-public areas of district-sponsored programs or activity. The policy also states that staff must not obstruct immigration enforcement if they enter anyway, but what we will basically say is we won't cooperate voluntarily, but we also won't physically intervene. The board will get notified, and the superintendent must be notified when immigration enforcement requests student or family information or education records, employee personnel records, or permission to enter non-public or district transportation. And it reaffirms our students' rights that they cannot be denied equal rights or be discriminated due to their immigration status or refusal to provide immigration status information. There's also a lot of compliance and communication, but I wanted to put that on the record so that our community knows that we continue to strengthen our policies on behalf of our students and our families in our community. Any other board discussion? Can I get a roll call vote?
Member Yolaka?
Aye.
Member Martinez?
Aye.
Member Torres?
Aye.
Vice President Yu?
Aye.
President Hebert?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Now we move to 8.3, Student Device Refresh, Associate Superintendent Evans.
Thank you, President Hebert. Tonight, we are presenting to you another device refresh for our Chromebook program. Beginning in 23-24, the IT department began a new phase of Chromebook refresh, and the purpose was to replace all of the aging Chromebooks over a course of 4 years, about 25% a year. Starting in the 24-25 school year, the IT staff deployed the Acer's Spin 512 Chromebook, and we continue to refresh with the same model, so that's what's being presented tonight in the 25-26 purchase. In addition, with this one, we've started doing the value add, which comes with the case and kind of the insurance policy, if you will, that helps us avoid buying additional Chromebooks, reduces the repairs, and speeds up the repair time if there are issues. The estimated costs of this phase will be a total of $2.18 million, but those are paid out of our Measure P bond funds as part of the investment in our capital program. So it's recommended that the Board of Trustees award RFQ student device purchase from Vivacity as presented.
May I have a motion and a second?
We have discussion?
After the motion?
I'll motion to approve.
A second?
Second?
Okay, any public comments on this item?
No public comments, Cars.
Okay, board discussion.
Yeah, I just had a question, Mark. Is there a way for these Acer Chromebooks, what I've noticed is some of these kids are losing those pens that are associated with it?
The pens, I'm not sure. Rakesh, do they interact with the pens, or?
Yes, it's part of the Chromebooks. It comes with the stylus pen.
Are we actually using them? Can we remove them and keep them to the side? Because I've heard a lot of kids are losing them.
Yeah, in the past we used to remove that, but then we had it sometimes the teachers wanted to use it in the classrooms, and sometimes the parent requested, so that's why we are keeping it onto it. This device comes with the 4 years accidental coverage onto it, so some of the parts of the coverage is.
Is the pen included in that?
We are checking onto it right now because we had only one request come, the missing pen. We haven't figured it out yet, but the last time I reached out to the company, they were sending 5 pens to us without cost.
I had two questions. In regards to the Chromebooks, the cost of them, do we do bids on that, or is it just, it seemed a little expensive for a Chromebook, and just with, the economy.
We
and
do go out to bid and get competitive bids, and this is a follow-up from the company we worked with before. We get proposals, a request for qualifications. Technology doesn't follow the exact same bidding requirements, but these ones are more expensive because we do have that value add and that insurance, the case and all that, which cuts down costs on the other side of maintenance and upkeep and staff time.
Okay, and then my second question was, on the third page, it talked a little bit about the e-waste fee. Typically, we get money returned to us when we turn back in our Chromebooks, and from what I understand.
We do turn in Chromebooks to sell them back, and we do get refunds on a lot of our e-waste in the
Yes,
past.
so
but-
it depends on the conditions of the devices. Sometimes the device is totally damaged and not repairable or any conditions, then we get like $1 or $2 per device. Sometimes we get $5 to $10 refunds on it.
Okay, I'm seeing a fee here rather than
Yeah,
a
but
reimbursement?
When you buy an electronic device, because it has chemicals and heavy metals in it, there's usually an e-waste fee, whether it's your phone or your watch or any of those things. So that's a fee that goes with any sale of any technology item with those types of equipment. The rebate we get or the refund we get is more of the, when we turn them back in. It's a separate item.
I just see these e-waste community things, and
Yes,
you get to turn those in for free, and
Yeah.
we're not billed or anything like that. So I just, from a community point view, I'm seeing, these places where you can turn in your laptops and things like that without a fee, and to have, I think, a $1,400 fee added, or $14,000 fee
Yeah, they're based
added.
on each of the items you purchase, and if you look at a receipt, when you make an electronic item purchase, you'll actually see one on your own receipt for an Apple Watch or a phone or things. It's just a California state assessment.
So I think there's a confusion. This is actually when you're buying it to provide the recycling services afterwards. That's what you're paying for. You're not paying to recycle what we have. So when you turn it in, it's a free recycling program, and they'll recycle the materials that are inside of it. But all these fees that are collected from TVs, laptops, and everything, that pays that.
That's what I see.
Yeah,
no.
so yeah, but we do try to optimize on the other side of that, to turn things in and try to get refunds or some cash back for old ones that might have some value.
Okay.
Those are just selling used
That's more
assets.
selling, that's not going back to e-waste necessarily, but yes.
One question, so is this gonna be happening every other 4 years, like a?
Yeah,
some type of thing?
we'll be on hold for a while because all the refreshes have been done, but it is going to be a cyclical thing that we'll have to do. So bond funds will be used or other capital funds whenever possible.
And my last question is I know since I've been in the board, it's always been Chromebooks. Is there ever another brand that's similar?
We use a Chromebook device just because it's the most universal in all. I know districts that have used like iPads have oftentimes had harder time setting up with state interfaces and all. But generally, we let the IT department make that call as to which works best with our systems.
Okay, can we get a roll call vote?
Member Yolakar,
Aye.
Member Martinez,
Aye.
Member Torres,
Aye.
Vice President Yu,
Aye.
President Hebert. Motion carries.
We now move to item 8.4, approval of a license agreement between Cry Out Christian Fellowship and Oak Grove School District for the use of the Santa Teresa multipurpose room and 2 portable classrooms. Associate Superintendent Evans.
Yes, thank you again, President Bear. We're looking to enter into a license agreement for continued use rather than just a signing up in the Facilitron use. This can block out a period for a longer period of time and give a steady routine and planning advantage to both the district and the user. The license agreement is for the multipurpose room at Santa Teresa Elementary and 2 of the portable classrooms for their child programs. It also provides revenues. When we do that, we look at what our fees are on the facilities use and kind of build from there for the license agreement, and that provides revenues. Those revenues do need to go set aside for capital expenses, but in the long run, then they are there to do repairs in the future and save on the general fund. So this church group, Cry Out Christian Fellowship, was interested in using space for Sunday service, and we looked at a variety of campuses. We've been speaking for many months, and we determined based on their needs and visiting different sites, the Santa Teresa multipurpose room was the preferred, and they had 2 nice portable classrooms that will work, that are not teacher classrooms, which is also something we like to avoid. And they will also be bringing 2 20-foot shipping containers. We had a space for them at this campus to put the storage containers so that their Sunday service items don't have to be left in the multipurpose room and they don't have to remove them off-site. So there will be that part of the rental fee includes that. The license fee is for a total of $2,800 between the storage units, the 2 classrooms, and the multipurpose room. And it's for basically a little over a year. It'll go through June 30th of 2027. So it's recommended the Board of Trustees approve the license agreement as we look for other revenue sources to bring into the district.
I understand we have a recusal? A recusal on this item? I think we have to do it now because you can't. That's an abstention. Do you want to speak to the recusal, or I could just?
So as far as the Cry Out Christian Fellowship, it was my recommendation to bring forth a nonprofit. I work with lots of nonprofits through my nonprofit, and they are a Christian church that I attend, but also I was looking for revenue for our school district. And so for this item, I will need to refrain from voting because it is a conflict of interest. Yet I do recommend the board to approve this because it is revenue. They are, no, not at this time.
No,
Oh, okay,
we
sorry
can't.
about that.
So we're going to take the recusal. Do I have a motion and a second?
I'll go ahead and motion.
I'll second. Do we have any board discussion?
Yeah, so I had a question on here. I was reading through here and maybe I missed it. Do we have any language that stipulates that they cannot leave any materials that are in a public space? I understand that they have the boxes for storage and they're gonna move it out, but I didn't see any language that says specifically that after they're done using those facilities, that all items need to be removed.
That was part of the conversation, and there is license about clearing out, and mostly a lot of times it relates to trash and debris, but that's the agreement that they are to clear the multipurpose room, put it back into the storage container so it's prepared. We'll live into it, and if we see that there's a challenge for the school site and things aren't cleaned up properly, there's a custodian there also. That's part of their fee that's not included in the license agreement because that's based on how much custodial hours they use. That'll be billed separately. But the custodian will be there to kind of check on things and make sure that it's being prepared properly for school on Monday.
Yeah, and I'm fine with them renting the space. My only concern is we have other denominations of kids that attend that school, and they also have that right to, we need to ensure as a public school
Yes.
that we don't have that material publicly available.
Yes, and they've actually licensed our facilities before at different sites, so they're familiar with our kind of standards and rules.
If there's an agreement in place for that, then fine.
Yeah.
Where will these storage containers be held? And I guess like if something were to happen to the things inside the storage containers, would we be liable or?
They have to have their own insurance. That's part of, just like using our facilities, they have to have their insurance agreements and their indemnity terms in the license agreement as well. They'll actually be stored over where our ARC is, and I checked with both the principal and maintenance to make sure that it didn't block access to the facilities or anything.
And does the school have access during school hours if there's an emergency?
No, they wouldn't. We could arrange for that, but I don't know that there's a need for it because it's mostly chairs, and some of it also is equipment that may be of value because they have audio systems and things like that. I'm not sure which they'll be keeping and which they'll be taking off-site each day, depending on the values.
I understand, and I'm just looking at it from, we don't know what they're gonna put there from a future standpoint if it becomes a combustible thing and we have to have fire come out. then we
Good
should
point.
be able to at least
All right.
access it in an emergency.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'll share that with maintenance and the site as well.
No other board comments. Can we get a roll call vote?
Member Yoloka,
Aye.
Member Martinez,
Aye.
Member Torres,
Abstain?
Vice President Yu,
Aye.
President Hebert.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, we will move to an information item under the LCAP mid-year report. Assistant Superintendent Anna.
Okay, thank you, President Hebert and members of the board. Tonight with me, I have our team of ESD managers who will introduce as they come up to the podium to support in the presentation of the LCAP mid-year report. The LCAP mid-year report is a requirement under Assembly Bill 114, which requires LEAs to present updated data and expenditure on implementation of LCAP goals by February 28th of each school year. This went into effect for the 23-24 school year, so it's been a requirement since then. However, in Oak Grove, this has been a best practice that we've had in place for years to provide transparency and updates on our progress towards our LCAP goals along the way. Is this my? Do I, Rakesh? Is this thing on? No, it's not working. Oh. Is that me or you? It's you doing it, okay. Oh, there we go, okay. Thank you. My apologies. As part of our report, the implementation updates will include metrics, and the metrics which will fall into one of three buckets. So our metrics are what's required on our LCAP, our 3-year LCAP. We set a baseline, and then we report on the LCAP each year. So we're presenting what data we have available at this time of the year. When we come back to present the LCAP in June, all of the metrics will be completed and presented. And so if the outcome is unknown, then we're not presenting it tonight. Outcomes that are in progress, or if there's partial data, we'll present that to you as available, and then we'll be sharing any of the outcomes that are known. Some of those are lagging data that we've already presented as part of our CASP state testing presentation that we brought forward to the board in October, or our dashboard metrics that were presented in December. So some of that data you will see again, but just to give you a heads up on that. And then the next slide. For expenditures, there we go. I don't know if I'm doing that or you are. Okay, so for expenditures and action implementation, oops. Nope. There we go. It's just important to note that in the LCAP, there is an in-depth goal analysis section. So when we report the LCAP for the future year, there's an opportunity for the team to analyze our goals and report on impact and rationale for any changes that were made or to be made in the plan. So these expenditures we're just going to share with you as of the first interim, and then the progress towards the spend of expected expenditures for each goal. And so you know, some of the actions in each goal area may not have been started. That's typically not the case at this point in the year, but it could be. Or most of our actions are in the bucket of in progress, and some of the actions are completed. So we'll be reporting an update on our progress towards the actions. And then I will, where'd he go? Mark's slide. Okay, so we'll come back to the slide on the first interim allocation. There he is. Oh, that's okay. There you go. So Mark, I will. That's okay. I will turn it over to Mark Evans, Associate Superintendent Mark Evans, to present on our June 2025 projections versus first interim allocations.
Yeah, here we've updated the total LCFF funds. And when we were projecting our budget and adopted it in June of last year, the expected income was just under 110 million. It's gone up about $1 million. And usually we kind of get that reconciled as our numbers solidify with enrollment and LCFF funding. The supplemental grant and the concentration grants are pretty much on target, and those are based on the number of what we call unduplicated pupils. Our free and reduced lunch, our EL learners, our foster care, foster home students. All other state funds had a significant change. That's because the one-time monies that we had not allocated in June came through, and the other local funds also had a change. Those are some of our RDA funds and other roll forwards of restricted funds that we had budgeted in the previous year. They weren't all spent, and then they roll forward into budget in the upcoming years. Federal funds, we had a nice increase. Oftentimes that's because we're getting reimbursements for Medicare services, Medi-Cal, here in the states of California. So that's a large difference explanation for the variances between where we were in June when we had the initial budget proposal and where we were at our first interim.
Thank you, Associate Superintendent Evans.
Can I ask a question on that? Is it too
Sure.
On the federal funds, so I believe there was a new legislation that went through where we can now build towards people's medical plans?
Actually, that's not federal, that's state. It's called CB. I think that's what we're calling it. It's CYBHI. And I'll actually mention it in our Budget Advisory Committee as one of the revenue streams we're looking forward to in the future. But it is a new law, and Dr. Dorsey has been working on getting that started so that we are able to be part of that billing system.
Okay, thank you. We'll move to start off with Goal 1. And so for Goal 1, all students will be proficient in meeting and/or exceeding all Common Core standards and 21st century skills. To date, we have spent 54% of our planned expenditures. Data points here. Again, these are SBAC or CAST, the state testing in math, language arts, and science. Just want to point out that what you see is the overall percentages and in comparison to last year at the same time in the mid-year. And the reason why there are certain student groups reported in our LCAP is due to the dashboard data at the time of writing the first year of a 3-year LCAP plan. Student groups who are in the red level on the dashboard for any school need to be reported here on the metrics. So for each of these metrics, if there are student groups in any school, then we include them in our LCAP and it's in our metrics, and it's ongoing for the 3-year cycle. You've seen this data before, but just to recap, we did see some increases in math overall from 42% to 44%, and in language arts from 46% to 48%. And then our science test is recently on the dashboard as well, but we did show a decline from 36 to 33. And then here is our benchmark assessment data for ELA and math. That's our iReady data. So you can see that our overall, we see from 45% to 46%, and from 38% to 39% in math. So some pretty stagnant data, and just a little bit of an increase with 1 percentage point. But we are tracking just the same as we were last year on our mid-year for iReady. And then the other data point that we do have data for is student access to instructional materials. So that was 100% of our Sites that were visited for the Williams compliance reviews were successful. So in the beginning of each year, the County Office of Education conducts visits to select schools. We had visits at Burnell, Christopher, Davis, Del Roble, Hayes, Ledesma, and Parkview, and all of those visits were successful. Finally, our student technology survey. In November of each year, we give what we call the LCAP Student Technology Survey. We also give one to teachers as well to get student and teacher input on how often technology is used in the classroom for learning and teaching and learning, and also to learn a little bit about student and teacher engagement with digital citizenship. The data that's reported here is students who report that they use technology to engage in 21st century skills weekly and daily. So that was 97% of third through eighth graders, I should say, report weekly use, and 87% report daily use. We had for our student survey, we had a 77% response rate. And at this point, I'm going to pass it over to Director Dr. Patricia Mondragon Doty to review the actions. Go ahead.
Thank you, thank you. Good evening, President Hebert and board. Thank you for this opportunity to be able to go ahead and share the great things that we're doing. We have several essential actions underway and have completed several of them for Goal 1. We successfully completed, like Assistant Superintendent Enna said, 7 Williams visits. That's 5 more than last year, and all of them very successful. To support our youngest learners, we implemented the K2 Reading Difficulties Rescreener as Amira to enable early identification and intervention for our students. Also, our ELD pilot curriculum is underway as we work to deliver the highest quality literacy instruction. We are currently piloting Savas for English language arts, Spanish language arts, and English language development. We continue to support in the delivery of core curriculum training, professional development that includes, but not limited to, Algebra 1, Savas Math, pilot programs, Benchmark Rigor, TWIG, iReady. The district curriculum team, which meets once a month, is focused on strengthening our teacher resource site to ensure that that is up to date and available as a resource for our teachers. After-school sports continue to be available at all intermediate schools. We continue to enhance school libraries by adding books that reflect our students and also their interest. And beyond the core curriculum, we are proud to provide visual and performing arts, VAPA, instruction covering art, music, and theater to every TK through 6th grade student. And now turning to slide 10, we continue to expand opportunities for our families and students looking ahead to 26, 27 already. We offer diverse program options, including Spanish dual language at Christopher, Edenvale, and Del Roble, as well as STEM programs at Herman Adventure and Stipe. In the realm of 21st century skills, the district maintains a one-to-one student device, and as you heard this today, that's purchasing new devices, repairing and replacing broken ones and damaged ones. In addition, our AI task force has successfully developed a district-wide framework to guide the responsible use of AI. And simultaneously, our ed coaches, our amazing ed coaches, provide targeted support for instructional applications to ensure equitable access to technology while maintaining rigorous student data privacy compliance. This includes managing and approving over 433 applications to ensure our students' information remains secure. Thank you for your attention, and thank you for your support.
Moving on to Goal 2, we'll employ equitable practices to accelerate the academic and language achievement for traditionally underserved student groups, specifically English learners, socioeconomically disadvantaged students, foster youth, homeless youth, and students of color. To date, we have spent 39% of our planned expenditures. And some data that I would like to highlight, we have presented dashboard data in December, but 46% of English learners made progress on the dashboard English Learner Progress Indicator, and that was up 2.7% from the previous year. And our long-term English learner rate as of the fall of 2025, 15% of ELs are identified as long-term English learners, 6+ years, 6 or more years as an English learner. In comparison, the state rate for LTELs is 19.7%, and the county rate is 17.9%. The rate of LTELs was an increase from the previous year, which represents 43 students. Additionally, we have our dashboard data for language arts, which we're able to report. Again, student groups that are reported here were read in at least one of our schools on our dashboard for the first LCAP writing. We are currently in yellow in language arts and yellow for math, with, you can see, improvements in both areas overall. And to report on our actions and updates for our actions is our coordinator, Eva Marcorda.
Good evening, Board of Trustees. This year's SEAL implementation has been sustained and expanded, while English learner teacher partners and instructional aides continue to provide direct site-based support to both students and teachers across all elementary schools, strengthening the quality and consistency of English language development, instruction, and services. In addition, targeted professional development on high leverage strategies for English learners, along with participation in the long-term English learner networked improvement community and multilingual learner shadowing, continues to build educator capacity and cross-site coherence. To further support site-level innovation, Title III mini grants have funded site and teacher-led initiatives aligned to instructional priorities. Complementing these instructional efforts, monitoring and reclassification practices have been strengthened through consistent use of the Elevation data system and workflows. Looking ahead, planning is underway for summer 2026 programming, including Elevate and CSI, Summer Bridge, and Newcomer Academy, along with expanded adult ESL. I will now hand it off to Laura Demery, Coordinator in Student, Family, and Community Services.
Thank you. Good evening, Board of Trustees. Thank you for our opportunity to present to you tonight. We are continuing our commitment to developing instructional capacity in ethnic studies. As you can see, we've had 4 cohorts already. We are also scaling our high impact leadership models for African American, African ancestry, and Latino students. Programs like the Black Program, Young Black Scholars, the Hispanic Student Recognition, and the Dream Keepers drive significant student and family engagement. I think you've all been to them, and I invite you to come to our next event on March 14th. Our goal is always to make them bigger and better and more exciting, and they're a really great event for our community. We also offer site-based intervention funds. We've been offering about $10,000 per site. A lot of sites are using those to do tutoring, homework centers. We can also use it to leverage to recover attendance recovery and learning loss. We're continuing to offer ELOP programming at every single one of our elementary school sites. This year, we also applied for an additional grant for 2 of our sites to become ACES funded. It's a really great opportunity for us to leverage those dollars and free up money from ELOP to further scale other programs. We are going to be applying next week to add Herman and Burnell, which would be great because I really want 100% after-school programs in Oak Grove School District, so I think they'll be great for the community. It's also, I'm sure, the district's goal too, not just mine. This expansion also is twofold and ensures that we are able to offer after-school program at every campus. And second, it allows us to leverage a lot of these dollars. We can also do these other initiatives where we can do attendance recovery and recover ADA, recoup lost instructional time, and also allow us to recapture those funds and reinvest them in other programs. So I will now hand it back to Assistant Superintendent Anna. Thank you.
Thank you, Coordinator Demery. We'll move on to Goal 3. We will provide an inclusive learning environment for students with disabilities to best support social, emotional, and academic development. We've spent 56% of our budgeted expenditures here. Some data highlights. We've reported in December our dashboard data. The numbers that are here are the average distance from standard. So for language arts for students with disabilities, negative 120.2, and for math, negative 134.0, and those show a very slight decline from the previous year. For iReady data, we maintain the data from the previous year. In iReady reading, 17% of students with disabilities are at or above standard, and for math, 14% of students with disabilities are at or above standard. And I would like to bring up Coordinator Megan Duffy to share progress on Goal 3 implementation.
Good evening. We strengthened instructional support and curriculum alignment across our programs. Christopher autism teachers were trained and are implementing the evidence-based STAR autism curriculum, ensuring a consistent continuum of curriculum throughout the autism program. We also aligned our early learning by training our SDC preschool staff in the Preschool Frog Street curriculum and expanded the Tier 3 literacy support and our 2-year rollout of language, ! With our elementary RSP teachers. And in March, we also are going to be training 5 staff members to be trainers of trainers for language! For ongoing staff that are hired to be trained by us as trainers. We also strengthened our safety by providing de-escalation training for instructional assistants in the August PD, and also have trained 44 staff members in safety care. Also, safety care more recently just increased the capacity of how many people we can train at one time to 28 instead of 20. Finally, our special education coach, or TOSA, has provided ongoing collaboration to over 10 teachers and formally coaching 4 teachers through the induction program. These coordinated efforts reflect our commitment to evidence-based practices, our staff development, and improved outcomes for our students. I'm going to invite Dr. Singh to continue our mid-year update for Goal 3.
Oh. Director Singh, not quite doctor, maybe one day. So, good evening, everyone. Thank you for having us. I want to also continue to highlight some of our special ed highlights for the year so far. One of our most significant accomplishments has been increasing opportunities for students to receive services within our district. So since last year, we have successfully transitioned 9 students back from our county program to Oak Grove School District. And these transitions represent more than just a change in placement. They reflect our district's commitment to educating our students with disabilities in the least restrictive environment, allowing them to be not only with their peers, but in their district, our district community. This also allows us to reinvest resources back into our district schools when the students return. This year, Family Partnerships also continues to be a cornerstone of our work in special education. This year, we kind of rebranded and launched the OGSD Special Education Parent Connection Committee, which has already demonstrated strong engagement from the start. Our virtual kickoff meeting, and we alternate between virtual and in-person every other month. Our first virtual kickoff meeting welcomed over 80 participants online. We also continue to see an average of 50 families attending our virtual online meetings and over 30 families attending during our in-person meeting, and our last meeting had almost 40 in-person participants during the school day, which is wonderful. This committee provides parents and families with a collaborative space to connect with one another, share feedback, strengthen relationships and trust with our district. And their voices really help guide our program development, ensure we remain responsive to the needs of them and their students in our community. We also remain committed to strengthening our legal and procedural expertise, which is so important in special education, to ensure compliance and high-quality services. So this year, we were able to send 20 special education staff members to the F3 Legal Symposium, and that really helped enrich their knowledge around special education law, procedural safeguards, and best practices. And this really comes as investing professional learning to ensure our teams remain focused, informed, proactive, and aligned with both legal requirements and student-centered practices at the IEP table and beyond. In addition, we expanded behavioral and therapeutic supports across the district. At Christopher this year, we implemented a full-day programmatic behavioral support for our autism program, increasing consistency and enhancing student access to instruction and social emotional development. We were able to really see the support of having our students remain, again, in our programs and providing that extra support so they can get access to their education. We also strengthened therapeutic services by providing full-time therapists to support our students in the therapeutic programs at both Stipe and Herman. And again, these services allow us to better address some of the social, emotional, and mental health needs of our most vulnerable students on campus. So these efforts reflect just our ongoing commitment to build comprehensive, inclusive, and high-quality special ed programs, focusing on keeping our students here in district moving forward. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Moving on to goal 4. We will actively engage families and community members in supporting the implementation of Common Core State Standards instruction and providing input to program decisions. You can see here that we have spent 62% of budgeted expenditures. The data point that we report on our LCAP metric is around interpretation. So for interpreters and requests for written interpretation, we've seen a decline in both of those areas in the requests from last year to this year. And another data point that we report on is our attendance at district parent meetings. So you can see that out of our 18 schools, we have 15 members in our district advisory council. We have 12 members in our village, 11 members of the DLAC, that's our District English Learner Advisory Council, and 10 members of our ABLA, Hispanic Parent Group, attending district parent meetings. And I will be bringing up Director Dr. Dorsey to share a little bit about the implementation of actions for Goal 4.
Good evening, thank you. So Goal 4 is a measure of student and family engagement. And so there's several ways that we engage in community outreach where families can give their input, where they can share their experiences, where they can ask questions or celebrate successes, and also obtain resources, support, and information. So we do this through our LCAP survey and expanded community outreach in historically underrepresented communities. So for example, tomorrow we're going to Stipe and Parkview. They have community events happening, and so we thought that would be a great opportunity for us to reach out and connect with the family and get their input on the LCAP there, with the families and get their input on the LCAP there. Students, families, and community members also have direct contact with the superintendent, Dr. Chidas, and the rest of the executive team through parent group meetings, the Student Advisory Council, and coffee and conversations with the superintendent. Our community liaisons, social workers, and site social workers work directly with students, families, and schools to help support families, particularly in navigating school systems and connecting them to resources. And finally, we've hosted several resource affairs this year, one in August and one in December, where families had access to free items like clothing, backpacks, school supplies, and gifts, as well as direct connections to various community-based organizations. We're in the process of planning our annual Cinco de Mayo event and Cultural Arts Expo, both of which are really dynamic and celebratory family events featuring student talent and community resources. Our parent engagement events focus on relevant parent and education topics like Know Your Rights and digital safety. We also provide regular communication at the district and site level via Parent Square, where we reach over 99% of our families in the language of their choice. That might be one of the reasons why you see a decrease in the request for translations, is because we have some applications that do that automatically for us. Additionally, we provide translation and interpretation services for individual conferences and documents. And finally, like I said before, our social workers and social work interns support students and families through a variety of activities like home visits, hosting wellness centers, clubs, and supporting individual students. And that's it for me. Back to you, Assistant Superintendent Anna.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Dorsey. And finally, Goal 5, our school and classroom environments support learning, safety, engagement, and healthy well-being. To date, we have spent 47% of our planned expenditures. And we have data points from the dashboard. So for our chronic absenteeism, now we're seeing the numbers declining from one year to the next, and that's what we want to see. For chronic absenteeism, all of the student groups here have declined, as well as our overall decline for all student groups. I'm seeing a typo on for English learners, and that number should be 22.7%, so which is down from the previous year. For our suspension rate, also, all of our student groups and overall show a decline or maintain, except for foster youth, which did increase by 0.7%, which represents 2 students. And that was one of the areas that we were, made us eligible for differentiated assistance. The next slide is actually not reported on the LCAP in this format. These are our mental health and social work metrics and actions. We wanted to report the progress on these actions per the interest of the board. And I'm going to pass this back to Dr. Dorsey to present our data here.
So social workers were presented, like their work was presented in Goal 4 because they do a tremendous amount of work with systems analysis and supporting families with engaging in those systems. But they also support individual wellness. So I wanted to give the whole picture of the mental health team in one slide for you. And so that's kind of why I put everybody here. This year, we have 3 site-funded social workers and 1 certified wellness coach, and this is paid for out of site funds, Title I funds, so not strictly LCAP funds or LCFF funds. But combined, you can see that they have seen an individual caseload of 35 students. They also support wellness centers in which they've logged over 800 student check-ins combined. They also support whole group and small group, like social emotional learning and skills development. And then on to our interns. We have an amazing group of 17 first-year MSW social work interns who have a total of 68 students on their caseload. You can see that they're differentiated by how many days they're able to serve at the site, and that's just based on availability and their level of education. We also welcomed 18 mental health clinicians at varying levels whose primary support is working with individuals and small groups. But together, this team sees 213 individuals on their caseload, as well as doing crisis response intervention. Thank you. For the actions on the next slide, I'm going to welcome up Coordinator Bowie.
Thank you. In addition to providing safe environments for our students through the support of our mental health and social work teams and schooling services, we also work diligently with our teachers to provide safe and supportive classroom environments. Through the training of restorative practices, which we measure our students' ability to feel safe and connected several times a year through our district safety connectedness and belonging survey. We also work hard to ensure that our students' physical needs are met as well. We have one district nurse for each of our learning communities, and as of today, they have collectively completed hearing and vision screenings for all of our TK, K2, 5, and 8th grade students, in addition to our students with IEPs. Additionally, they oversee the health needs of students while they're at school, such as medication administration and procedures for health needs. We also provide central office support for our most underserved students, such as our foster youth, our students experiencing homelessness, and our English language learners. Next slide, please. In addition to restorative practices, which I spoke about earlier, all of our schools participate in the tiered fidelity inventory to ensure that we are practicing positive behavior interventions and supports with all of our students. We also involve our PBIS mentors to review data and develop a plan for next steps. We are also currently in the midst of creating a social emotional learning curriculum framework for use across our district. And additionally, our academic counselors at our intermediate schools meet regularly to analyze attendance data, specifically for our multilingual learners, foster youth, and again, students experiencing homelessness. Finally, I'm excited to share that we are proud to be in year 1 of implementation in the RAISE network. All of our OGSD schools have seen a decrease in chronic absenteeism, which you saw in the previous slides, this past school year. But our schools that have participated in the RAISE network have reduced chronic absenteeism over 3 times the amount of the average of the district as a whole. So thank you. I'll now pass it back to Assistant Superintendent Enna.
Great, thank you so much. Before we close, I just want to thank the entire ESD managers team. The actions and the implementation that they described up here is just a portion of the things that they do every single day and reflects their deep commitment to continuous improvement and to supporting our students every day in all areas of our goals. So thank you so much to the team, and thank you, board. We'll now open it up for any questions that you may have.
I just had a quick question on page 28.
Okay.
I just wanted to kind of get some insight into, so you had 800 student check-ins up to mid-year. Is there a breakout in terms of what topics are covered? Not specific, but like in general, like what are some of the areas of concern? Or that's question 1. Question 2 was more geared towards, are you seeing an uptick during certain times or down
I'd have
cycles?
to look into the individual site data sheets. They all kind of document their sign-ins in a different way. So for example, Davis does a sign-in, they check in, or I'm sorry, Edenville does a check-in and they they document mood. So they have like a feelings chart that they check in with, and then when they check out with what are they feeling. So I can share that data with you. With regard to specifics of what student, I mean, so I can share the mood trends, but with specifics, I don't know if that data is documented.
Okay. And are you seeing any peaks or lulls during certain time periods?
I can go back and check the logs to see by month. I can check by month, but I don't know that I can see the data by
That's good. It would be
time of day, right?
Yeah, no, it's just monthly. Like, are you seeing increases during certain time periods? That
I didn't notice anything broadly. Like I said, I can double check for you. Didn't notice anything broadly as I looked at the data. It looked pretty steady. There was a peak at the beginning of the year, and it's kind of tapered off a little bit, but it's pretty consistent across the months. But like I said, I will double check that data for you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Janae, and your team for your presentation. Full of information, always very action-packed. And I know your everyday is probably very action-packed as well. I did send some questions over ahead of time, and I would like to thank you for your responses. I haven't had the time to go over them in detail yet, but these were some of the questions that I would like to bring up. So I do see in terms of goal 2 that we are putting a lot of like effort into providing expanded supports. Like there's a lot of actions being taken. I am curious about why the LTEL rate is increasing despite having all these expanded supports.
Okay. Yeah, thank you for sending your questions, Trustee Yu, in advance. I do appreciate having the ability to think that question through. So what are the factors that might be contributing to long-term English learner increases? As I stated in the presentation, the increase reflects 43 students. While we are below the state rate, there might be some, it's difficult to know exactly, but some factors that might contribute to the increase could be due to the nature of mobility or high absenteeism. Students who have moved schools or have higher absenteeism rates tend to fall behind or have difficulty making the same progress as their peers. One data point to note is that, so long-term English learners become long-term English learners when they are 6 years or more as English learners, so that means they qualify once they get to 6th grade. Our current 6th grade cohort were the students who, during COVID-19, shut down during kindergarten and were in distance learning during 1st grade. So we do see a little bit of a bubble of students who missed those critical years in early foundational skills and were learning online, not the same as when they're in front of their teacher and in the classroom engaging with their peers. The gaps from that time have persisted for students in that cohort in some ways. So that could be a reason. And then additionally, inconsistencies in Tier 1 literacy and designated ELD instruction in our classroom. So analysis of our language arts instruction that we've conducted shows that many classrooms across our schools are using supplemental materials for the core curriculum or do not use the complete components. We're really excited to be able to bring a recommendation for an adoption of a new core curriculum in language arts to rectify this. And additionally, our district has very, very strong integrated ELD practices, specifically through SEAL and through the language strategies. But a designated ELD for students at their specific level is not a consistent practice across school sites. So that is something that we're working on. Our curriculum instruction and assessment team in ESD has participated in the Bay Area Geographic Leads Consortium network called LTEL NIC, or LTEL Networked Improvement Community. So this was an improvement process that helped us identify our LTEL learning journey, and one of the actions through that NIC was to conduct empathy interviews. And in our empathy interviews, we learned from students that during LPAC testing, they may feel testing fatigue. LPAC testing happens in the spring. If they are a 5th grader, for example, they're also taking the physical fitness test. They're also taking the California Science test. They're also taking the math and language arts state tests that everybody else takes. One thing that we really try to push for to rectify that is that the LPAC window opens on February 1st, and we really push to begin testing as soon as that window opens up as possible with our one-on-one testing for students and then group testing following that, so that there's a gap between LPAC testing and summative testing later in the spring. So the other thing that I can say, well, I'll stop there.
Thank you. That's a very robust answer. I think along the lines of like the Tier 1 and Tier 2 instruction, because I know that that you are in the middle of a new ELA pilot, I would love at some point to have a presentation around what literacy looks like in the district. So I would love to have like a Tier 1, Tier 2 presentation, and I want to see what the alignment is between the curriculum and assessment piece.
Trustee, you have asked for in the past a report on our MTSS, and would you say that this would fall in line with the MTSS Tier 1 and Tier 2? Okay.
Yep. Put it
Great.
all together.
Great.
Yes. I'd love to learn a little bit more about these Title III mini grants. What kinds of initiatives are these grants funding?
Yeah, so with Title III funds, we want to support schools with materials that they may need at their school site and in their classroom. So we have an opportunity for teachers and sometimes within the parent community, they support the schools in identifying maybe additional library books or classroom library books that reflect multiple languages, reflect the culture and backgrounds of our students that are multilingual learners. They use them for possibly online learning activities. They can use them for real life experiences, to support with field trips, to support with materials that they can bring into the classroom to bring learning to life and to give students background knowledge. So it's really exciting to see what comes through in terms of teacher creativity, but we want to give the autonomy to the teachers in the classroom and the school sites to determine what their needs are for their multilingual learners. There are many supports that are provided through that process. Yeah.
One more, okay. Under SPED, so I did see that there's coaching and mentorship for our teachers. Are we continuing offering any coaching or mentoring support for our instructional assistants or our instructional aides?
Yeah, we do have opportunities for IAs to receive professional development. I'm not sure if there's professional development coming up soon. Sheetal, do you want to come up and speak to that one? We also have IAs are present at 2 of our professional development days during the school year, so we do provide planning for that. But in terms of during the day, I'll pass it over to Director Singh.
I can speak to actually at the beginning of the year, we utilized one of our PD days that we had all staff on campus to provide a menu of options for instructional assistants. So we had professional development for every instructional assistant, a whole group on just the standards, the best practices, and then they got to choose 3 additional breakout sessions. So we had de-escalation strategies, we had lots of ones working with students in the classroom engagement, so we had different options. This upcoming March PD day, we actually did add a additional all-day training. That one is actually geared towards our teachers for de-escalation strategies and supports for any general or special ed teachers that would like to sign up, and that was an optional training that was added. But we not all of our instructional assistants are aligned with our teacher PD calendar, so we tried to do, this year we did most of it at the beginning of the year. Yeah, but that's also a goal for next year, is to continue as we have new curriculum, to continue to train. Ideally, we would like to train some of our instructional assistants with our teachers, since they're both supporting our students in special ed in the classroom. And then also additional safety care trainings are going to be coming up next school year, and we're looking to expand that to principals, teachers, and instructional assistants.
Great, thank you so much. And the last thing is not a question. It's actually a shout out to Coordinator Shannon Bowie. I did attend the virtual parent information night around the comprehensive sex health education. You did a great job on Zoom, even though it was your first time. You know what? You facilitated it very well. So giving you that shout out.
Thank you.
I just had just 2 items. In regards to piggybacking on Nancy's question in regards to the training that is done for teachers, aides, whether instructional aides or special ed aides, do we do ongoing questionnaires or feedback? Do you feel, ready and able to, perform the duties that are before you? Again, I'm assuming that these trainings happen before students come in, and I'm sure there's an array of different circumstances that may come up. And so I'm just curious if we, do any feedbacks or, how often do we do that?
Yeah, we do have a general feedback survey that accompanies professional development that employees participate in. And I think what I'm hearing you say is there a readiness or maybe a pre-survey before any professional development? And so thank you for that. We will definitely take that into consideration to help us in our planning for next year.
And then as far as the raise, as for the raise for schools for the chronic absenteeism, it looks like some schools are participating in it, obviously not all. So how do we get all, or how was it that these certain schools, was it because of the lower numbers of attendance?
Yeah, we have 2 schools who are participating. So that is Parkview and Davis. And due to the chronic absenteeism rates, but also the RAISE network, the opportunity really and the funding for that really allowed us to have 2 schools participate. The work that they're doing is really supporting, and the data that's coming out of that is helping us in our differentiated assistance work, because in our differentiated assistance improvement plan, we are looking at chronic absenteeism specifically for our homeless and foster youth. So we're taking the data that we're learning from the RAISE network and kind of building capacity. We're working with different schools in our differentiated assistance with Hayes and Anderson, and also employees that represent other schools as well. So it's really exciting that we're learning a lot through through this improvement science in the RAISE network, and then also applying it in differentiated assistance and learning a little bit more so that we can build capacity and scale it out. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you so much, ESD management, for all you do for our LCAP goals. Just quick, I'd like to know more about the site-based intervention funding for each site. Are those being used for the full potential? What kind of different?
Yeah, great question. So the site-based intervention funds, as was mentioned, $10,000 is allotted to each elementary school and $13,000 for the intermediates. The school sites can determine which grade levels, which students will be participating in the intervention. Teachers do need to volunteer. They do get paid, but they need to, it's a voluntary program where they're electing to teach an after-school program. It could be before school. We've asked for teachers to provide in a 1 hour block, so it's typically after school. The reason for that is because if we are providing 1 hour blocks of instruction beyond the school day, 4 of those 1 hour blocks we can count for attendance recovery. And so this is the first year of implementation of that, but the types of things that teachers will provide in terms of intervention is a literacy academy. So they'll have students stay after school to work on, in a smaller group, to work on literacy skills. They may work on math skills. They may kind of tackle their homework assignments and break it down and do a lot of reteaching in there. They may do English language development. Math and literacy are typically the main focus areas for the intervention funds, but sometimes there's some creativity involved as well.
Is this voluntarily, or these kids can drop in, or is it, hey, you're doing bad in this subject, you talk to the parents?
Yeah, so typically it would be teachers who want to teach an after school, they come to their principal and say, I want to, I'm a 3rd grade teacher and I want to teach after school program. I want to invite certain kids who are struggling, who I think could use a little extra support. If I'm a 3rd grade teacher and I'm willing to teach the after school literacy academy 2 or 3 days a week, I may invite any 3rd grader with my teammates. I might invite some of their students as well. So they might not just be my students, but just to open it up so that there's a little bit more stretch for our resources. So it all depends on, if teachers are willing to do the interventions. Many are, which is great. And because that is an after school, that's an additional hour after school, but that money is there, and hopefully we'll get the attendance, those hours, and then see the attendance recovery come in. That's our goal for this year, is to get that up and going.
Does it have to be a teacher, or could it be an outside person that wants to provide that additional help?
It does need to be a certificated teacher for the attendance recovery. If we do have, an outside person on a service agreement, then we would not get the attendance recovery for that, but they would still be able to provide an intervention.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So I just want to add, Director Singh, it was nice to see you in here. I do miss having conversations with you during our board meetings or after our board meetings, but it was nice to see you again. Just take
Thank you. And I will speak to that program. My son actually participated in the extended learning program, and it really made a difference in the math outcomes for him. So I really support those programs. As I review this report, I'm always listening for a few things, but this year in particular, one, that where we're seeing progress and what's working so we can protect those strategies. Two, where we're not seeing progress and where we can adjust early rather than waiting till the end of the year. And three, how our implementation aligns with our 5 district goals. But I also want to connect the fiscal reality that we're facing. As we go into our budget cycling, planning, and it's our next item as well, we're going to have to make difficult decisions. And it's really critical that we use this LCAP as a guide to protect those programs and services that most directly impact students and support our kids with the highest need populations. And so I appreciate the presentation tonight, and I look forward to continuing the updates as we move forward with the LCAP and our budget development. And it was just an information item, so we don't have to vote. So thank you very much. We can now move to our 9.2 Budget Advisory Committee update. Associate Superintendent Evans.
I think I'll just stand up here. It's a little more comfortable and easy. Let the slides come on up. Thank you. This is just an update on the Budget Advisory Committee and kind of the new task we've taken on after the work we did last fall and the fiscal stabilization plan. You asked us to engage and, thank you, and get ready for more work because there is more work ahead. Why am I not clicking here? All right. Next slide, please. So there we go. So the fiscal stabilization plan was our first objective from last fall, and based on what the county wanted us to do. We presented that in November. The board acted in December. And they received it, they reviewed the plan, and they were pleased with it. They were satisfied, and the plan is just a plan. The actions and all will be forthcoming for what we do based on the second interim and the governor's proposal. Next slide, please. But what we kind of now have is the task at hand. In December, the board asked that we continue looking for more reductions and particularly focus on the 4,000s and the 5,000s. We needed to keep salaries competitive, and since then we've had salary increases and stuff, which is a great thing, but that will put those additional pressures. So that you engaged us to look at the 4,000s and 5,000s. I invited back all of our members, all but one accepted. Unfortunately, many have not been able to attend, so we've had some turnout. And I would really concur with OGA President Luis Velasquez to really encourage parents to be there. It would be really helpful. We would like to have parents from all of the learning communities represented, and to be able to sit at the table and have those conversations as well. So if you are a parent and you're interested, please contact me or no. We also invited people when we had the village meeting on Tuesday night as well to kind of expand that. I've also asked CSEA and asked me to make sure they have members there as well, because it will impact everybody across the district. Now, the 4s and 5,000s are less people-oriented and more supplies and services oriented. The materials and supplies are what the 4,000s are called, and I'll kind of go into a little detail to give some background on that, just information. And then the 5,000s are typically called contracted services, consultants, a wide range of things, and I'll share some of the categories there. And then also, we want to continue the conversation regarding potential revenues, because our balance sheet has two sides, and we can look at both sides to solve the problem. Next slide, please. So this is what we're looking, we had our first meeting in January, largely just an introduction meeting where we kind of shared what the task was, how it was redirected from what we were doing last fall, and really focusing on the 4,000s and 5,000s, a little bit of a budget education session and a little workshop there to get people to understand what that meant and how to look at those numbers. And then last night, we had our second Budget Advisory Committee, and we're trying to break it down by categories in those. For example, last night we looked at a code called 4300. That's specifically materials for classrooms, office supplies. It's generally supplies, but it could also be bus fuel for that matter. But they're materials we buy for functioning and going into the operations of the district. We'll have another meeting in March, and then in April, we probably will have one in May based on the budget revision. So when the governor's May revision comes out, we'll do another meeting and kind of come up with what our recommendations are. The 4,000s and 5,000s are going to be different in that they're probably going to be a gradation. We may not call out something specific. There might be some examples of that, but it might be more for, we think license agreements need to be reduced by 15%. So it might be more of a gradation goal or a reduction percentage, because then the people involved in those can figure out what license agreements must stay in place, what ones are we not having usage on. And I think to what your point was, President Hebert, is looking at the data and seeing what's effective, what is being used, and keep those, and what are we spending money on that may not have much impact. Or, you know, even if it's good, it's not getting used, are we putting our money in the right spot? So those are kind of the conversations we'll start having. And because we have some new factors, the next slide kind of mentions, you know, we have our settled negotiations. So that will create additional expenditures, and those will be ongoing expenditures. So we'll need to kind of figure out how to get ongoing savings. The state economic conditions, they've continued to be strong. There's been some stammering in the market over AI, which could seriously impact the state revenue collections. But the stock market activity overall has been very strong, which is a direct support for Prop 98 in California. The governor's budget was actually very, very positive. There were some things like the COLA is going down, so that will have a little impact on the negative for us. But he has lots of one-time monies and some ongoing, like the COLA. The one issue I would like to mention is the settle-up. There's a $5.6 billion settle-up that he's kind of withholding until revenues are further along rather than issuing it. And that's not traditional, and that's not how we typically fund Prop 98, and that's concerning to me because that might be withholding money that we could be using at this point in time. And then other reductions we might face is as we get our demographic reports, we're seeing that the attendance decline continues. We know it's been continued as in the past, but we showing a lower birth rate, which is not surprising. And also we've noticed a correlation that the number of births in our zip codes has a lower correlation to the number of kindergartners. So we need to find out, why are our students born here not necessarily going to kindergarten here? Are they choosing other options? Are they moving before then? That might be an area to dive into for how do we make our schools attractive and desirable so that those people end up showing up at our doorstep. So those other reductions will actually impact our revenues in the year ahead as we assume lower attendance numbers in the future. Revenue potential, I think we've had some good conversations on revenue potential, and I think there are some really great opportunities for us to enhance that. It'll again be a balanced equation because this won't be able to solve it single-handedly. The next slide kind of lists just the ones we've talked about. The parcel tax, we'll be having a meeting on March 25th with community members to kind of dig into that. We talked about it here in the Budget Advisory Committee. Actually, in January, we brought it up as an item of, hey, we're researching this, and this is what it is, and this is what it can do for us. So I think we want to investigate that and find out what that best spot is. If we want to go for it, that would get 67% of the vote so that we could pass it. So we'll be working on that in tandem with the Budget Advisory Committee. The other thing I want to mention here is when it comes to taxes, we have an opportunity coming up, and I'll be presenting to you in March, a chance to refinance some of our bonds that are outstanding. We just issued $71 million in bonds, and we got a great rate on those. They came in at very competitively priced and good interest rates, and we got a rate upgrade because we had done our fiscal stabilization plan. But now the rates have shifted more, and there's actually opportunity to take old bonds, refinance them, and save anywhere from a little over $2 to $3.5 million for our taxpayers by reducing the overall cost of the bonds and the life. So I'll bring a resolution, and we're going to start working on that so that we can get that processed, lower those property taxes a little bit, maybe offset it with the parcel tax. So balance that out. I mentioned the governor's budget proposal. We talked about that. Just as an aside, that $5.6 billion, if it were just distributed evenly across the state, our estimates is that it would be about $7 million to Oak Grove School District. Okay. Improved attendance is another great source of revenue. We are doing several things to do Saturday school, working on attendance recovery. Very great programs, but the most efficient one is to come to school in the first place. And you're not spending the time and energy and the expenses to generate the additional attendance revenue outside of just coming to school. It's not only the financial benefit, it's the most efficient way to access the curriculum as well. So we want to continue really pushing on that attendance and getting our number back up. It has been improving. January tends to be a tough month with flu season and all, so we'll see a decline, but overall this year is ahead of last year. To the question you asked earlier, Board Member Jocular, the CYBHI, that's the California Youth Behavioral Health Initiative. Did I get that right? Mm-hmm. Okay. That allows us to bill private insurance. The increase in federal funds that we saw was from Medi-Cal. So our students who are receiving Medi-Cal services, we do get reimbursed for that. It's kind of always unknown as to when that money is going to come in or how much it is, but the state passed a law that would allow us to do the same thing with students who are not on Medi-Cal, and we'll be able to build insurance and charge for services that our social workers and our counselors and things like that do. So this might actually be a revenue stream to support some of the programs that we really find valuable and are in our LCAP. And then facilities use. You approved 2 license agreements for our facilities, the track at Davis, as well as the multipurpose room at Santa Teresa. There might be other opportunities to do that. And again, small amounts, but certainly beneficial. And maybe we also take a chance to say, are our facilities rates sheet, which we publish, is that up to date? And do we need to maybe take a look at that to see how we are to comparable districts? So, okay. So that could be an item to continue this revenue generating mode, but also bring it up to current standards or current rates. And our track and fields are far more desirable now than they were 5 years ago. Any questions on the revenue side?
I think speaking to the facility use, I would like to bring back an item to do a full study on our facility use. I saw the soccer field agreement, and I looked in comparable field uses, and we're way under the market rate compared to the city of San Jose field use amounts. And so I think that's going to be critical. Although they're small chunks, I foresee, because there is such a pent-up demand for soccer fields in our community, that we will have them fully booked.
Yes, and the license agreement was in tandem with what we have with other user groups like that, and it very much paralleled what our fee structure was. So I was trying not to be capricious and be consistent as to what we apply to others. But I think that's a very good thing, and we can start reaching out and getting that information. Facilitron is the company we use to book our facilities, and they actually work with many districts, so we can probably get those right from them, and we can do a comparison and a study and kind of see where we are in relationship to neighboring districts. Part of that might also be see what is your middle school field? Is it a turf and rubberized track, or is it what we had before? So there'll be lots of components to take into consideration, but you're right. And these are oftentimes long-term agreements that can be renewed year after year or made multi-year. So you get a kind of ongoing component to those.
Do we offer discounts for nonprofits?
Actually, we have a rate for nonprofit and a rate for for-profit.
Is there a way to remove the nonprofit, or are we
No,
required by
I'd have
law
to check the
have
law. I
it?
think we have to, and part of the Civic Center Act is that we are supposed to engage and work with community organizations with our facilities, so that's why we do have the nonprofit rate. We have very little use from for-profit groups. Those rates tend to be more expensive and oftentimes don't work out for for-profit groups. But the nonprofit groups typically are soccer clubs. When I was principal, I had a church at my school as well on Sundays. Or sometimes they're after-school clubs that come and use the facilities as well. Scouting, Good News Club, groups like that will oftentimes sign up and use it.
So for the nonprofits, then, are we doing at cost, or are we doing slightly above cost? 'Cause I'm just trying to gauge how much actual revenue is being generated if majority of the contracts that we have are for a nonprofit. Sorry to cut you
No,
off.
I'm sorry. The costs have to be correlated to the wear and tear on the facility. So what they largely do is offset our capital expenses to bring those back up to speed in the future. That's why when we generate these revenues, they don't go into the general fund, they go into Fund 40 usually, capital projects, so that it's there to take pressure off the general fund when we have to do that repair in the future. So the format of the Civic Center Act is that we're not supposed to profit from the nonprofits, but we're supposed to charge them the wear and tear that they're creating on the facility while they're there.
So then let me ask you this, based on what you're saying, are we truly generating anything if we're renting to predominantly nonprofits?
We are generating money that's going to go in and pay for a new program. It's going to offset the costs of what we have when it comes to the maintenance and upkeep of our facilities. And for example, when we put in a nice new track, that turf has to be replaced every 10 years, which becomes a financial burden on the maintenance program. So if we can offset some of it, it won't be 100% because we're using it too. It reduces that obligation. So.
I think also with the modernization, we may be able to hit up some of the for-profit because, again, I think things are getting very expensive out in the business. Rentals and things like that, the leases are very high. And so these are things that with the modernization, and because I do know as the contract for Santa Teresa, it took a while to find a location that someone can use ongoing.
Right.
And so it didn't seem like our schools can generate funding ongoing at this point right now. And so I felt like a lot of our schools, maybe we can do a month, maybe not, maybe till 3 months, but it took a while to find a school that can house, whether it's nonprofit or for-profit, for long-term. And so-
Absolutely. And as we do modernization, I think it will make the facilities more attractive and it might draw in more for-profit. The other thing when we look at those partnerships is to make sure that they can coexist with us too, because we're running a program and we want to make sure our program is able to be ready to roll Monday morning and things like that. And that's Santa Teresa work for that. We also look at how accessible is the property. For example, many of our schools, the multipurpose room or that gathering center is within the building. We're too close to the classrooms where there's not any separation. So we try to also have those separation areas. So there's a lot of factors in that decision that work both for the person renting it or the group renting it, as well as the district's interests too. So, all right. Next slide is on reductions, and you can go right past that. We'll talk about 4s and 5s, these are basically non-staffing expenditures. They're not exclusively non-employee. They're not our employees, but many people in this category are some of our contracted services. All right, so there are people that we might have to hire because we can't fill that position. The instructional aides or the speech and language or an SDC teacher. I think we've made a lot of improvement in the last couple of years reducing those numbers. I think our new testing program has gotten more IAs in the feed loop. Our teachers that we brought in from overseas have reduced the contracted services, and those are our teachers. And I think we have a better commitment and a sense of obligation between them and us that's more so than we get with our contracted staff, just as a general nature. So I think there's savings and that are direct savings, and there are savings that are indirect savings in that. So some of the 5,000s are people, they're just not employee necessarily. And as I said earlier, they're kind of not categories you can eliminate, but can we reduce them, and can we find those strengths and efficiencies? The 400s, for example, 4,000s, for example, are textbooks. This one you may not see many expenditures in until we do an adoption. We'll do, you'll see a big expenditure when we do the ELA adoption here. That is actually being funded through Glider, so those are some of the set-aside funds that we're able to use from Glider. Other books, again, we don't have a whole lot of activity in there. Those are oftentimes the libraries. Sometimes those are donations that we get from parent groups and stuff to build up the library. But the materials and supplies are definitely substantial. And compared to budget, what happens when we budget, we put down what's on the books currently, but we don't catch all the things that didn't get spent the year before. So by the time we get to first interim, you see this number go up because all the sites have built their budgets again and put it in here. So you'll find the materials and supplies, predominantly these are related to the classroom, they're related to the office, but they're also supplies for the custodial services. They're also supplies for the transportation. So we'll look at these and see if there's some efficiencies or can we avoid waste, but these will be probably on the smaller percentages. I would say less than 10% of savings that we would get here. But are there ways to make sure we cut down on waste, use more electronics, soft copies versus hard copies, and things like that?
So,
yes?
As you look into that, one of the concerns that I had was as we move more towards notebooks and online material, we have students that are actually viewing a laptop 6-7 hours a day.
Mm-hmm.
Plus they have time at home when they're doing study, especially for the 7th and 8th graders when they have to use that. I don't know what kind of an effect that has on sleep patterns or, other issues that they might have on an ongoing basis as we're moving more and more. I'm not saying that it's a bad idea. Mm-hmm. It's just, is there a guidance in terms of how much should we do it and should we adhere to that guidance and not exceed that kind of a deal?
As far as the screen time and all?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that's a very hot topic and very much concerning to audiences even beyond school, right? It's a big parent issue is how much time is being spent in front of a screen between home and school. And I think with Prop 28 and things like this, we have a lot of those materials and supplies will be in here. And I think it's very good that kids are using those things with their hands. I just want to say, are we being efficient? Are we being wasteful? Are we getting the best purchase for that pallet of paper? Can we find some better purchase options and maybe get some more savings? I don't know how much reduction we'll have, but we might have, again, some more efficiencies. And those are two words we've shared a lot in the Budget Advisory Committee, is let's look at efficiencies and let's look at effectiveness in all categories. So in the 5,000s, you'll see we have non-public agencies and schools are in a few different areas, 5,100. Travel would be expenses for conferences. They'd be expenses for mileage stipends and things like that. Insurance is, yes?
I apologize. Can you explain 5,100 to me? I'm sorry.
For example, if we have a student who has special needs and we don't have a service that we can provide for them, they go to a non-public school. So that's predominantly what it is. Then insurance, I was saying, that's basically our workers' comp. That would be our property and liability. We've had, in the past several years, we've had several assessments for the AB 218, which is the child sexual assault lawsuit. So that has increased insurance rates. Insurance rates for the school have gone up just like they have on your own home policies probably. You've seen it there. 5,500 utilities. And this is an area where can we find more efficiencies? When I arrived, our utility bill was over 600,000. Now it's running over 900,000. We all know the rates have been going up, and they hit us as well. As we do modernization, we are trying to be more efficient. We're shifting away from old boilers to more efficient items. Many of them are electric-based. They're heat pumps instead of these boilers and gas furnaces. So one of the things I'm working with is our solar arrays. They're approaching a point in life where things are going to start failing. Do we have to get in front of that to keep them generating power and power more efficiently so that our electric bill doesn't go up even further? Rentals and leases. These are largely maintenance expenses. A lot of those are there, but they could also be the copier machine for the classroom. And contracted services. This is, license agreements are in here, but this is where we'll have more non-public schools. We'll have the services hired to support students. It could be an LVN for a student with a 504 plan with medical needs. It could be a speech and language pathologist because we just can't hire one. This number we could get down by transferring more of them into our own employees. And again, are we using the most efficient and effective practices to support our students? And then 5,900 is a small one, communications, cell phones, things like that. We have contracts where we have radio systems for the maintenance to communicate and stuff like that. So what we did at our February meeting was kind of looking a little bit at the 4,300s. There was a little detail on the different subcategories of 4,300s. But quite honestly, we didn't spend much time here. We really focused on the license agreements because the license agreements come in, I think we spent year to date about $1.7 million, which is most of it. Most of the license agreements you pay in advance. But we really focused on the license agreements, and I really wanted to thank Sergio Rizzi, who was there, presented and really explained that. As an ed tech, he knows both what's happening on the classroom side and what's happening on the backside of the IT department. So, you know, what do we need to function all of these things, whether it be what the teachers and students are using on the front end or the whole Google suite on the backside that they operate. Infinite Campus is another one of those license agreements. That's our student information system. There's also a bill that we pay to the County Office of Education because they run all of our checks and payrolls. So that's a couple $100,000 a year. So some of those license agreements we can't mitigate, but I think we need to look at the ones that are being used and how often are they being used. And what we did was we sat down after we kind of went through what the license agreements were, and we had them break into learning communities. And the goal was, on both the 4,300s and the 5846, I said, you know, what guidelines do we want to do to measure effectiveness and measure efficiency? Because it's going to be hard to kind of go through an Excel spreadsheet of 300 line items and try to pick out what you think we should just cut. So those guidelines need to be developed by the Budget Advisory Committee, and that's what we'll use to kind of come back with recommendations. And again, those recommendations will be, we think we can reduce license agreements by 15% or whatever that number is. So that's what we'll be doing. We just got that round done last night. Next steps on March, we'll continue in the 4s and 5s. We're going to focus on contracted services. I'm going to ask Special Ed is going to come and talk because so many of those contracted services relate to them. And we're also going to look at, I think we're also going to do, I didn't have it down here, travel and conference. So travel and conference, honestly, will fall away naturally. We had a very large grant a few years ago called the Educator Effectiveness Grant, which is now expired. Those funds are gone, so a lot of the conferences will disappear just because there's no longer a funding source for them. Okay. But we'll look at other contracted services, travel and conferences, and then we'll kind of look at utility and insurance costs too. Are there some things where we can find savings on the utility side? So that's kind of what we attacked in the last couple of meetings. We'll continue our work, and if you have any other detailed guidance or suggestions, please share.
I just have,
Sorry.
go ahead.
Just real quick, just so that we're like consistent with the language that we're using, because, you know, we keep hearing like consultant fees or consulting fees over and over again. Is that this in the same bucket or category as contracted services?
Contracted services kind of would be almost all of, 5,000s are services, And consultant would be within the 5,800 of contracted. So it'd be one line, one subset, just like licenses is 5,846. I don't remember consultants off the top of my head, but they have their own last two digits. Yeah. But you're right, those are often used interchangeably, and consultants are actually a subset within that broader category.
I just had two quick questions. One was, I see after-school lunch, after-school program snacks as an option. Is the lunch also funded?
Yeah, so.
Through these? Is it something that the state reimburses us 100%?
That's a really good question, because when I saw after-school snacks, I thought, that's a new one to me.
Yeah.
Well, I had to dig into that too, because with the ELOP program, the after-school program that is a specific restricted fund, we're required to provide some snack. So we created that coding system to track those expenses, but they're restricted funds and a required expenditure. So we really can't cut them because we have to provide them by the rules of the program. But we also are funded for those things through the program. The food is actually a completely separate category. Our cafeteria is run out of a different fund, not Fund 1, but Fund 13. And the governor has made a priority to have universal meals and has funded that, so that's been a very good thing. It's one of those really positive programs. One of the challenges is that's being funded out of the general pot of Prop 98 money. It wasn't additional funds, it was within the Prop 98 pool. So that creates a challenge, kind of like the ELOP funds do as well. So they're great programs, but they aren't additive programs. But we're also, one of the strategies we're looking at from a fiscal department is how can we cross-fund and tap into some of the resources that are in Fund 13, because there's been a lot of commitment there and we have some resources there to offset staff costs or share them.
But does that fund just the food, or does that fund the resources also?
Fund 13 funds the food. We use Sodexo as our company that kind of organizes it all for us. It pays all the staff. If we have a cafeteria worker, they're paid out of a different fund than a teacher is. So they have their own fund, and for example, we have a warehouse, and the people who deliver the food and drive the trucks are paid out of the cafeteria fund, not the general fund.
And then lastly, this is just a side question for me. Our solar arrays, are we doing any cleaning to that?
Any cleaning?
Yeah.
Yes, we have a service contract to do repairs and regular washing and cleaning, and they, once in a while, we'll get an email. They're going to be cleaning on Monday morning. You can't park in the front until after 8. So that is part of their routine in cleaning. But again, they are not quite 20 years old, but we need to start planning for failures over time. So
it just popped in my head when you mentioned the electrical rates are going higher. I didn't know if we were doing that, because I know that's required.
That conversation is, how do we optimize those? What options do we have with batteries to offset peak pricing and things like that? So we'll investigate that and kind of get a ball rolling. It'll be a multi-year project, but it's also something that could be funded out of bond dollars as well to generate savings to the general fund. So.
Well, thank you for bringing this back to the table. I really appreciate the update. It reflects the board's direction to go back into the 4,000s and 5,000s and continue to explore revenue options like attendance and facilities use. As we move forward, I'd like to see the categories to present in like a table where we can see the current spending level, the estimated savings range, and a brief impact statement so that the board understands and the public understands the trade-offs that we're going to have to make. I also really appreciate the special education contracted services identified. We know it's a huge cost driver to the district, and we really should explore whether more students can be successfully brought back into our district. And so I look forward to the next iteration. I really hope that we can bring more parents as part of this process. I've advertised it on my social media to let parents know about the process and that they can participate in this, because I don't want at the end to just hear complaints when they haven't participated in the process throughout this few weeks. And I'm hopeful that the governor's projections are accurate. I think the LAO is inaccurate about their downtrending of our stock market and AI after the past few weeks in AI. I think actually it's going to take off, and I think we're going to have more money in the state budget than what we thought this year. So fingers crossed that we'll be getting that $7 million and additional funding so that we don't have to make additional cuts.
Excellent.
So on that note, Yvonne, I wanted to ask, is there a way we can reach out to the principals and encourage the principals to reach out to those parents and see if they are willing to attend these meetings? Do it directly.
No, yes, that's a great idea. We can have our principals included in their weekly parent memo that goes out,
Or their parent
groups. Yes.
or anything like that, where it gets further announcement directly to say, hey, we need your participation from this school.
Yes, we can do that.
Yeah,
Yes.
and actually, to piggyback on that, because we have schools identify a parent rep for like the DAC committee, I would like to have a parent representative identified at each of the school sites for BAC as well. The other ask that I would like is if we could make the budget, gosh, what is this called? The Budget Advisory Committee update, a standing information item.
Okay. So,
And then, I don't know if this meeting is held virtually or not.
we do it in person.
For the parents that probably have
Yeah.
to do babysitting, I don't know if that's feasible
And we
for
could
you.
probably arrange for babysitting. We've done so at other events and stuff. It's,
It might help.
yeah, the babysitting would help, but the virtual, I think, it's really technical, and I think what I've been trying to do since January is have them get into groups and talk a little bit too, instead of me just talk at them. And then the updates will probably focus on what subcategory did we talk about, and I won't go through the whole thing unless there's some other thing about revenues that's new. I'll just kind of give you an update on the newest topics, the newest budget codes we're really working on, and some of the discussions that came up.
Yeah, I think that would be great, just because it's just another layer of transparency, right? And that we're making sure that we're doing our due diligence to go through and analyze, again, for effectiveness and efficiencies.
I'm wondering also, we are hosting the town hall, and I'm wondering, since we're going to be talking about the parcel tax and obviously our deficit, would that be a place where we can also share a little bit of information about the committee to be able to get some people to sign for that?
Yes, definitely. We're going to continue to advertise it. So actually, the town hall meeting will be in here. We're going to be removing those walls back there. Those are all movable walls. We have invited our district. We have invited our district advisory committee, Home to School Club, PTA presidents. This Tuesday, we met with the village, invited them, ABLA, District DLAC, and who else? CAC? Oh, special education parents, yes. So it's going to be a hybrid, but these are groups that meet in person with the executive team every month or every other month. But we're going to, instead of having a meeting in March like we do, we're going to have the meeting March 25th in lieu of our regular meetings. So there's still, that's going to be here. But then what we're going to do is also offer it virtually, similar to what Associate Evans used to do his budget through Google Meet, and then some people will be here present. That way, more people can attend the town hall meeting, whether they're at home or wherever they are in the world, they can attend the meeting virtually, right? So that's what we're going to do for the parcel tax, but we can mention the why, right? The why is what the Budget Advisory Committee is doing. That's the why, like why do we need a parcel tax? There's a lot of red in those numbers. We don't want to see red. That's why. Red is not good. That means red is negative. So we need, like I said, I got hundreds and hundreds, so did you. You got hundreds and hundreds of emails from parents saying, give the teachers their 6% raise. Well, now we need them to vote yes on the parcel tax. So we're going to need that funding to sustain ongoing raises. So it's a team, we work together, and we have a plan. So I thank the board for your due diligence, for your direction, for your ideas. And we're looking at efficiencies, and we're going to make this work. We're going to figure it out. Yeah. So
And we had really good questions. There were several additional members from the teaching staff who were there, and they had really great questions. And I think people being present there helped them understand the complexity and the opportunity, but also the kind of push and pull of all of these numbers. So, they don't stand in isolation, and we don't spend money on things that aren't valuable, but it's a time and a hard decision to prioritize those decisions. So.
Thank you, Mark. I'm moving to closing items, any correspondence and board discussion.
So I just wanted to share that I attended the event with the Bay Area Association of Elected and Appointed Officials at Stanford University. This was a policy briefing hosted there in Advancing Just Societies. It was a thoughtful discussion on the evolving landscape of immigration policies and its impact to our communities, local economics, and governance. I also attended the CTA School Board Members Training. It was online. It shared, and I shared my perspectives and the takeaways with my fellow board members here. It reiterated the importance of school site visits. As trustees, we are elected and appointed officials who should be in the community and talking with parents, students, and teachers, plus making a plan to attend CTA events. I also attended the Anderson site visit with Superintendent Chaitis and the executive team, and it was amazing. Enjoyed seeing the classrooms, meeting students, and seeing the SIL curriculum in action. I really enjoyed seeing the consistencies in each classrooms where I saw just different science or social studies items that were displayed from one classroom to the next, and they were all the same. And so it was nice to see that in the classrooms, that they're all working together and they can collaborate. I did attend the CTA Santa Clara County Service Center Council School Board dinner with President Aber and Trustee Martinez. This event was in honor of school board members and to provide opportunities to learn more about CTA organizations and how it functions. Thank you, Luis Velasquez, for the invitation. I was able to attend the DEIB meeting. We had an exercise on personal identity and what it might say about privilege, along with how it might impact you as a leader in the district. And it was very informative. I felt a great takeaway in how we collaborated together and based on like your social setting on whether it's gender, whether it's your culture, whether it's whatever, how you might feel in certain situations and how that might be a good thing or a level of, again, privilege or not. We did discuss the Black History Month awareness, its implementation and action steps like unsung heroes like Garrett Augustus Morgan Sr., who invented the traffic light in 1923. He was involved in the African American civic and political advancement in Cleveland, Ohio. This was a short discussion also that we talked about third grade SCB, which was Safety, Connected, and Belonging. It's a survey that is given to the third graders in their safety and connectedness and belonging at the school sites. And I believe that data will be on our website and hopefully uploaded in our DEIB slides in our Oak Grove School website. And lastly, I was invited to attend the Ledesma Folklorico after-school practice, where students are getting ready for our upcoming, and even though it's months away, it just takes time to learn dances and for our Cinco de Mayo district event. It's wonderful to see 3 parent volunteers and their 34 dancers learning dances from Jalisco. So thank you.
I think Superintendent Chidas actually shared where I've been this past month in his superintendent's report, but I'll go ahead and reiterate. So I had the pleasure of doing a Ledesma site visit with our exec team. It was actually really fun for me to see like the Promethean boards in action, and then also one of the classes that we visited, they were doing a 3-act math task, and I thought that was just a great like open-ended, engaging task that really supports instruction around like big mathematical ideas. So I really appreciated being able to experience and observe that. Attended the ESSA Awards at Davis. Thank you to AGMA for putting that on. Was at the prosthetic leg showcase at Baldwin this morning. So thank you to Heather Sampson and Bridget Gatch for the invitation. It was a great, opportunity to see like design challenge and all the creativity and innovation that went into it. And also a great opportunity for the students to really work on their presentation skills and to explain their thinking. This afternoon, I was at Adventure STEM. Mr. Bermudez's class, they do like a Lunar New Year like celebration. So that was fun to see the different groups of students, creating their like little lions or horses or whatever it was and putting on a performance. It was very lively and entertaining. And then finally, the Lunar New Year is coming up next week. So for our community members who are celebrating that, happy Lunar New Year. It is the year of the fire horse. And for funsies, I will wish you all happy Lunar New Year in Cantonese, which is San Yin Phai Lok. In Mandarin, you would say Xin Yan Kuai Le. And for Vietnamese, Chúc Mừng Năm Mới. Thank you, everybody. Oh, and have a great February break. We all deserve it.
I want to add on all the other things that you've said that I've attended, which just seems like never-ending meetings, including the CTA dinner, which we're lucky to be invited by Mr. Velasquez to strengthen our partnership with our union, the ESA meeting, the Every Student Succeeds, attending the prosthetic program at Baldwin. I've also attended a press conference to combat ICE activity on school campuses last week. And I've interviewed actually to be part of the Santa Clara County CSBA Legislative Committee to represent our school district at the state and federal level when we advocate for better policies on behalf of education. I also wanted to congratulate the Davis basketball team for winning their championships and our Bernal 7th graders B team for winning their championships as well. I've got to go to many, many games this season, and they've done a great work. I also attended the Eastside Education Foundation's meeting to discuss if they are meeting the needs of our high school kids, as we're a feeder district for them. And so I will also be participating in a gun violence mitigation, a District 2 town hall. As a board member, and so that date will be announced soon, and I will let the district know. It's to further discuss ways to mitigate gun violence in our community that impacts our children and our families. With that, we have an adjournment. May I have a motion and a second to adjourn the meeting?
Motion to adjourn.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None. The regular board meeting of February 12th, 2026 is adjourned at 8:53 p.m. Good night. Nice job. Another one down.